button. All right, I think we are live once again. Welcome, everybody, to the Xbox 2 podcast. I'm Randall Thor19, the man with the million, and as usual, we have the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy? How you doing this week?
Hey, pal. How's it going? Rocking and rolling. I've actually slept this week, so I'm not falling asleep in the middle of the podcast, thank God, and I've also got some caffeine. So I'm doubly awake. I apologize for last week. I saw a few people complaining that I was really tired. It's just sometimes
I'm Randall Thor19,
but I am awake now.
Yes,
thank God.
Yes, we appreciate it much better when you actually get some sleep into you, because sometimes sometimes you're a little bit tired, and that's one of the reasons why sometimes we have to like skip a show or do the show on the weekend because. There's a big... I don't know if a lot of people know this, but it's not like me and you are even on the same continent, because we aren't. You know? Like, you currently are in Germany, are you not?
Yeah, and it's 10 p.m. here now, so, so it's pretty late here. But I am actually moving to England next week, so it'll be just 9 p.m. next week. So I should be even less tired for future shows when I'm back in England, so...
Yeah. So Jez stays up extra late just for you guys in chat. And I gotta say, Jez, you started a revolution last week. The amount of people tweeting me about filmic bull is off the charts. I really can't... Like, it's one thing to get me to play Pokemon for charity. It's another thing to get everybody to say filmic and 30 frames per second is the standard for next gen, Jez. I don't think I can forgive you for that.
Well, first of all... Filmic is just, it's kind of like the connoisseur's way to enjoy a video game, cinematic, filmic, like a classic noir movie from the 1950s and stuff like that. Nobody says like those classic movies like Casablanca are bad, do they? And they're not in 60 frames per second. I rest my case.
Yeah. And if there's any audio issues, because Jez was he was loud and then he wasn't loud, let me know if I need to turn Jez up at all. I mean, he sounds good to me, but let me know what you guys are hearing in chat, and I will definitely turn him up and turn him down and stuff. And got to give some shout-outs to some people in chat. We got Lethal Papa, we got Greg E3 Egg, Kratopsy in chat, the Darj Knight, Miles Dompier, who has been making some pretty good YouTube videos for your Windows Central channel, Jez.
Yeah, Miles is like... He's an amazing creator, and it pains me that more people aren't aware of his work. But, check out Windows Central's gaming channel on YouTube to see what Miles has been doing, because I'm like really impressed with his stuff. Like, I used to make videos for that channel, and then we brought Miles on to make videos, and I was just like, man, I can't make videos anymore for this channel because Miles is just so much better than me. So, yeah. Hopefully we'll see more of that.
I will say, Jez, I can hear you fiddling with those thumbsticks.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. What are you playing? What are you playing that you're fiddling with them so hard that I can hear them over you talking?
That sucks, man. Like, my controller's miles away from the microphone. I really don't get audio. Like, I just don't get how it works. But I'm actually playing Grounded again. On the 30-minute trial over and over again. I'm trying to kill a spider at the moment.
Yeah. A shout out to Sin Vendetta. Says, Jez, if you don't make a shirt that has Filmic on it and sell it, then that's a huge fail. That is true.
Do we have a merch store on YouTube?
I haven't done any of that stuff. And we get Sammy Basili says, hello from Haiti. You guys rock.
Oh, and, wow, Haiti. That's awesome.
Got a whole bunch of people in here. Hazador, what's going on, buddy? Warebox, everybody in chat. I'm kind of scrolling up and seeing everybody's names here. Just giving everybody, Dr. Vortex. Thank you guys for showing up to the show on this Friday. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. EA Play, Xbox Series X Smart Delivery, and the July event. There's some stuff going on with the PlayStation 5. Did you see the photo that was kind of going around today about how big it is? Like the unit that came off the production line?
Yes, I did. And then someone overlaid an Xbox Series X on it.
Yeah,
It's a pretty chunky boy.
it's a big boy. It looks like both these consoles are little big, little big.
Bit chunky. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a lot here to talk about, and obviously you guys do us a big favor, hit the like, subscribe button, but really importantly, hit that share button out because. People have been telling me they're not getting notifications for my videos or the podcast, and when they do, it's like an hour later. YouTube really sucks at sending out notifications for stuff. People get
For sure
them,
it's
people
not
don't
working
get
as
them,
intended.
and maybe it is exactly working as it intended. So, um, yeah, I appreciate all the support. Me and you guys have been getting on the show. I mean, we got like tons of people here watching every week, and people listening on iTunes, and just even when I put out regular videos, they are all doing pretty good. So I definitely appreciate all that. So with that said, we're gonna get back into what we've been playing because it's the most important thing. Jez, you said before we started the show that even you're getting messages about. Oh, I just skipped the first 20 to 25 minutes. I don't want to hear what these guys are playing. I'm not a real gamer. Like, I just want to hear about Xbox Series X. I don't actually play any games. Sounds like certain people on Twitter don't even play games. They just talk about them and just bash consoles. And you ask them, hey, what you think about this game? I don't know. I didn't play it. Uh-huh.
It just bugs me because like I never see like I often rarely see game journalists tweeting about games they're playing and stuff like that. And part of me was just wondering like do do a lot of people who work in this industry not actually play any games, or do they just like save their opinions for when they're marketable, or they can sell them in an article or something? I don't know. Like I don't know what the etiquette is for that stuff, but I like games and I like talking about games, so you just have to accept it.
Mm-hmm. That is very, very true. So, you know what? We'll start off with the game that is currently on screen. You've been addicted to this game. In fact, you literally squealed while we were on a Discord call talking about stuff. I'm showing off Grounded. Jez recorded an hour of footage, so basically 2 playthroughs because it's a 30-minute timer. Figured I'd throw it up here for anybody who's interested in the game. Tell the people a little bit about Grounded, Jez, and what your thoughts are.
Well, when they first announced Grounded, I thought it looked interesting and it was a cool concept, but when they were talking about how it was a small team and it was just going to be 20 people, I started like getting Sea of Thieves launch vibes. No, Sea of Thieves didn't have a ton of content at launch, and it took like 2 years of hard graft to get it to where it is now, where it's got like way more features and way more things to do. So I kind of thought like maybe Grounded would be this game that and also it's launching in early access in July. So the fact that it's even launching into early access sort of made me think to limit my expectations of what it could potentially be. But it is so impressive. Like if it really is a 20-person team, like I'm really impressed with how much stuff there is in it already. Like there's tons of things to craft. Like it's got a full-blown, really robust building system. Like it's actually got one of the better building systems I've seen. Like games like Conan Exiles and Ark Survival Evolved. Like to be fair, I haven't played Ark for a couple of years now, but like Conan Exiles had like a cool building system, but it was people who play these kind of games know that often it's really hard to snap pieces onto other pieces of buildings, and like you get issues where things don't clip properly and things like they won't clip into walls, so you can't build in certain places and stuff like that. But this is like got a really good system where it does let you clip into like the dirt and stuff. So it's hard to explain what I mean, but it's just more intuitive. Like I'm impressed with how polished it is and how intuitive the building is, but also how good the combat is. Like the melee combat feels really good. You can do like perfect blocks when bugs attack you, and then they get stunned and stuff like that. Like the combat has some depth to it and some weight to it, and also there's like tons of weapons you can craft. There's just tons of stuff to it, and although the demo only gives you access for 30 minutes, playing it over and over and over, I've discovered so much stuff. Like I've learned how to make a gas mask, and part of the map is covered in weed killer. So you need to like make a gas mask to travel in that area. And there's like different biomes and all sorts of different enemies. And the other day, like we were talking about the fact that I squealed when we were chatting, right?
Mm-hmm.
The game is actually terrifying. Like, it's legitimately terrifying. Like, wolf spider in the dark with red glowing eyes when they aggro. It is literally terrifying. Uh,
Yeah. And people,
and
I am not kidding you when I say Jez squealed. When he said, "Oh my god, a spider," I thought like a spider dropped into his head on real life and bit him. I thought something was going on in his real, like, he legit squealed to the point I was like, "Damn, dude, are you okay?" And he's like, "Dude, and grounded. This fucking spider just came up behind me," and I was like, "What?" Like, oh, okay,
well, it freaked me out because I literally just I was climbing up a tree because I was trying to break the game. Actually, I was trying to see how far I could climb up this tree with like wall clipping and stuff like that. And I just returned from like another place, and there was no spider there, so I probably thought like I was safe. But then I went back there again, and all of a sudden there was a massive spider there. Like it hadn't spawned on me; it had just randomly crawled up there. Like just, and then it instantly aggroed and like, rushed me. Freaked me out, man. This game's
so.
serious business.
So what's the so it's releasing into game preview like next month, right? Like July 28th.
Yeah.
And they're adding story stuff over the course of time. Like what are your expectations now for Grounded now that you've played 30 minutes of it, and like what do you expect from this game? Do you expect to be like, I don't know, because the way you talk about it, and like I've seen some people talk about it, like they were really surprised by how polished it was and how fun it could be. Do you think Obsidian's onto something here, or like?
I think it could be a Minecraft dungeon scenario where I can max out what it has to offer relatively quickly. Like I have no idea what the how high things can go, and there's huge areas of the map that I haven't explored yet. And there's also parts of the map that have like this under construction blocker on them. So I don't know if there's going to be like high level areas and stuff like that. But the level there's no like leveling system in the game. You don't level up, but like you craft more powerful armor, which means you can take on more powerful bugs and stuff like that. Like if you try and attack a wolf spider with like a level 1 spear made of grass, you do like a millimeter of its health every time you hit it, and it can just turn around and one shot you. So if you could kill a wolf spider at the start of the game, but you'd have to like be super pro and just never get hit, which I think it would be difficult over like, and it'd take you like 20 minutes to chip its health away or something. So, um, there's, I have no idea how much there really will be in the full game or when it's released into early access, but I kind of feel like this could be like Ark Survival Evolved where they just keep adding to it. Like, because of the setting, because it's set in like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids universe, they literally could add anything to it. They could just add literally anything you can imagine to it. Like, they could do a level where you're inside a house, or they could do a level where you're, any mundane place you can think of becomes a dungeon in when you're the size of an ant. They can add all kinds of bugs like scorpions and, and praying mantis. I was thinking like, how cool would it be if there was like a giant praying mantis in the game? I haven't seen one in the game yet, but it really does feel like the sky's the limit with what they could add to this game. I suppose it just depends how much Microsoft wants to invest at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I personally hope they do because I love survival games and I really like the setting. And I think they could be onto something here. I really do.
Well, that's good. And gotta give a shout out to regular 951 in super chat. He says, "Good afternoon, guys from Southern California. Good afternoon to you. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's staying safe. Starting to get a little hot here in Chi-Town. I don't like it when it gets really hot. And
Me neither.
PV Ghost says, "Hey, what if Sony offers a larger storage on their digital edition, say $4.99 for 1 TB with a UHD drive and a $3.99 for a 2 TB SSD digital? Do their customers like they do their TVs and cameras?" We're probably going to talk about that a little bit later about the dual SKU approach and all that stuff. But as for now, I think Jim Ryan said both the editions are exactly the same, outside of the one just having a disk drive and the other one doesn't, right? Like, supposedly it doesn't have a bigger hard drive or anything. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So you're good for Grounded. You like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I know the new Pokemon DLC comes out, and I'm almost like scared to ask you if you played it, like because I don't want you to speak. I don't think anybody in the chat wants you to talk about,
I'm not
Pokemon.
going to talk about it, but I will say one thing. It's a rip off.
Nintendo ripping people off. Surprise, surprise. what do you? So why? What happened?
It's $15 and there's barely any content. Like, if you actually like look at the amount of content in there, is pretty bad. Like, the content that is there seems pretty good, but it should have been free, man. Like, I think any other company would have released this DLC for free, especially after how annoyed they made everyone before. But what do I know, you know? But I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm gonna park the Pokemon talk for a while, at least until I force you to play Pokemon Snap later when that comes out.
No, you're not. You're definitely not gonna. No, I'm not playing Pokemon Snap at all. So,
come on, do it for charity.
So I've been waiting for Last of Us 2, which I have played a little bit last night, and I'll talk about it. But I ran through the campaign of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, and I just was like, you know what? I just want to turn my brain off like a Michael Bay movie. And I'm just going to run through Modern Warfare 2, and it took me like 5 hours. And it was still pretty enjoyable for the most part. It looked good. You know, obviously it ran good, 60 frames. It was a good time, and I captured a bunch of footage for that, which I'll sprinkle throughout most of my videos. But honestly, for me, for a while now, I've kind of just been waiting in this holding pattern for Last of Us. And I played it last night. And Jez, this game, Jez, Last of Us Part 2. Yeah. So it's like I'm like 3.5, maybe 4 hours in. A lot of the early beginnings of the game is very much setting up the story. So a lot of story exposition. Then they kind of slowly introduce you to the tutorial stuff about like how to take down enemies and all that, all those different type of things. But there are moments in the game where I just kind of sit there and I'm like, look at how it looks on my PS4 Pro, which, by the way, doesn't really run loud, which is strange because everybody said, man, on the Pro, or maybe it's on the regular PS4, but my Pro sounds pretty quiet because there are times, and you can ask my buddy Gopher about this or whatever, when we used to play PUBG on my One X, like my One X sounds like an aircraft carrier. Like, I can hear sometimes when I play a certain game, like when Doom Eternal got patched and I would turn it on and it just sounds loud to the point where like I could hear it over my Astros. Like, that's how loud it was sometimes. And then like you take off the Astros and it's just this like loud, it's like a air conditioning machine. I'm like, I know something's wrong with that system, right? It's a Project Scorpio edition. When we used to play PUBG, anytime one of them would pop a smoke and I would go into the smoke, it would crash my console. And I would get the notification when I would like fire it back up that it had insufficient ventilation or whatever, right? Like, I know that my Scorpio is about to die. And it like I'm just holding off to Series X. Like, I thought I was going to have to get a new system to play Ori. Because when I first got Ori for review, I couldn't get the game to load. As soon as I would load the game up, boom, game would crash. Same thing, and I'm like, what? And then it was a bug. They patched that and stuff. But yeah, my One X is almost like out the door. I just need to wait these next, 4 to 5 months so I can actually put that thing to rest, get rid of it or whatever, and start playing on my Series X. Because
in England, I only have the Gears of War. Is it Gears of War 4? It's the Gears of War 4 edition Xbox One S. So I've got to play in 1080p for a few months. Think of me, man.
1080p. I don't even know. 1080p. Ugh. I'm
1080p 30. Like, that is true filmic gaming right there. 1080p, 30 frames a second, if that. So yeah, you're bitching and complaining about being on X.
Well, a lot of people say the Scorpio editions have problems with the thermal paste, and I pretty much know that. I know it's the thermal paste issue, but I'm not going to open it up, and I'm not buying a new one because you can't even really find One X's anymore. Like, they're pretty much sold out everywhere, and I wonder why. I wonder why the Xbox One X is sold out, huh?
That is strange.
And you can't go really buy any. What could possibly be the reason? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, Last of Us 2, like that game is definitely something else. Like incredible looking, facial animations, like the facial animations and the animations in general, like the world, like it's kind of like I'm getting to the part where it's more open, like this lush kind of destroyed city, but like really high green grass, and it's like there's so much to explore. And then I'm so far amazed at what I played. So obviously, I really can't speak more on it because I'm not that far into the game. I'll probably actually do a review for this game because I feel like it's going to be something special. So hopefully I can knock that. Get through that over this weekend. Maybe put out a video about it. We could talk more about it on the podcast next week. But
man, I'm not going to be able to play it for ages because I'm not taking my PS4 Pro to England.
You better hope you don't get spoiled. You know?
Well, I didn't get spoiled for the original, so who knows? Yeah. Maybe I'll be lucky. But it does seem amazing, and I really like the original, so I'm hoping to play it at some point. But
I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm playing it. I have the lights off. I got the LED lights on, which normally most of the time I play something like I don't, but I want to be in that mood. You know, you're kind of in that mood where you just want to be just immersed. Like I'm not talking to anybody because sometimes I'll get on Xbox and I'll talk to my buddies. Like Gopher, Maka, and Magic, and we'll play stuff, or I'll be in a party talking to Dealer or Colt. You know, but like this one, I'm isolated by myself. I have the lights off, and I have the LED lights on behind my B8 OLED, and it's just like I'm there, and I just like tune out the whole world because I have my Astro A50s on, and I just have that shit maxed out on the volume end, you know. And I just like tune out the world. I like this. One of the greatest feelings about video games is just being in that moment, and there's not many games that really do it for you, and it's definitely a different feeling playing this game than playing like PUBG or Warzone. Like PUBG and Warzone, it's more about having fun with your friends, and that can be incredibly awesome, you know. But then there's moments like this where it's like it's just as special, but it's different. I don't know, you know. So and then the next month we get Ghost of Tsushima, but something tells me Ghost of Tsushima is not going to be on the same level as this. I mean, Naughty Dog is just there's like when you talk about like the top video game developers, some people would say Epic is at the top, right? Because Epic has created Fortnite. And you would say that too, because you're all about stupid freaking margins. Every time me and Jez talk about video games, you was like, well, they don't make any money. I'm like, okay, Jez, is the best developer right now Epic because Epic is pulling in mad dollars because of Fortnite? Is Epic the best? They certainly seem to have nailed down the online living game better than anybody, right? I mean, name a game that's
the events that Fortnite does are pretty amazing, though, right?
Yeah.
You have to give them credit for that stuff. Like I don't care about Fortnite at all, but seeing some of the stuff that they do with the live events and getting like celebrities involved and stuff like that, I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, especially when you compare what Fortnite just did to what Destiny 2 just did for their first live event, where it was like watching red streaks in the air for 45 minutes and then 10 seconds of a thing falling to the ground and destroying it. I'm sure that was a lot of fun. That was it. It was it. And like if you listen to like the Bungie employees on Twitter, they were like, that was amazing. We learned so much. And I'm just like, okay, yeah. The Epic has set the bar here, and you guys are like way down here. But yeah, nice first try, I guess. Faisal 007 in Super Chat says, Last of Us 2 equals looting simulator. Oh my god, 10 out of 10. Last of Us 2 is a stealth game. And you know how many times we've talked about Splinter Cell on this show? And my love of the stealth genre? Hello? Of course I'm gonna love a stealth game, especially one that has the...
Why are you playing Desperados then?
Because Desperados is lame-ass, over-the-top stuff, you know?
But it's a stealth game. It's a stealth tactic.
No, whatever. Sin Vendetta says, since we don't have a price for either Series X and PS5, and I plan on buying both systems at launch, I decided to save $1,500 to cover both systems, I hope. I would imagine 1500 would be more than sufficient. I think at maximum they'll both be 500. Maximum or minimum. I think you're looking at 500 for both, so you're looking at 1,000. But no, you're good. And what else we got? Mariana Pampa says, "Hey, with all these mic drop details coming out of the Xbox July event, spill guys, what should we expect? We need info. Love the podcast, guys. Hashtag Filmic." Oh yeah, the mic drop moments. We'll talk about that. But Jez, do you want to tease anything about the July show? We can
talk. We can talk about that.
You want to tease it right now, and then we'll talk about it later.
Well,
just like a sentence tease.
I'm pretty hyped for it.
Oh,
and I can be pretty negative about these.
Believe me, people. Talking to Jez sometimes, Jez can be over the top negative about certain stuff. You should have heard him. Let's tell this story, Jez, about the day of right before Sony was going to reveal the PS5 specs. You were in my DMs like, they beat them. The PS5 is going to be better than the Series X. Microsoft is done for. Jez was so concerned about it.
Really?
I totally remember this. You don't recall this whatsoever?
Not so much.
Trust me, I do, because you were in my DMs being like, they did it. Sony just screwed. Like,
are you sure I wasn't trolling you?
What? Maybe you were.
Sure?
You do try to troll me all the time, so I'm not surprised.
I don't troll you that much, do I?
You try. You could try. So you're hyped, huh?
I'm pretty hyped for July. Yeah, and well, I suppose it's cautiously hyped, but I'm not hearing anything negative right now.
Okay, well, we'll definitely talk more about that in a little bit. So, Last of Us 2, been playing that, gonna finish it. Hopefully I have maybe a video out this week. Definitely talk about it more in the podcast. Obviously, no stories, spoilers. Jez has been loving Grounded. How many times have you played the 30-minute rolling demo? 20, 40, 50 times?
I'd say at least 20 times now. I'm trying to get so good at it that I can like get all the upgrades and kill a spider in a single session. So I'm getting there. You're getting there. Good. Gradually pushing slightly further every time. But I really like it. I really do.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So, with all that said, we're going to be moving on to the topics. So if you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button, share this out, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me and Jez on Twitter. I don't really tweet a lot, but Jez does. And so make sure you follow Jez on Twitter.
I don't tweet a lot.
So we'll start with a little joke story here. You tweeted out that Series X would have a HDMI sticker that Roby said would have it, and Phil basically put his foot down and said, basically, not over his dead body, it would.
Wow. But then, Jason Ronald tweeted a little sort of like suspicious face emoji. So what if it actually does, and Phil isn't aware yet?
Well, I would hope Phil would take the executive role and be like, no, I'm overruling everybody. HDMI sticker not on that system. Because the people who keep
what if I have to because of some weird European law or something?
But does the PlayStation have a sticker like that?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Like, are you team sticker or team no sticker?
Well, I don't know. I just leave the sticker on because, like, what if one day you want to sell it? You want it in pristine condition, right?
Your team sticker? You're one of those people.
You leave it on.
How have we done the podcast for 134 episodes, and we're this misaligned? Where I'm team no sticker, and you're team sticker. Like, how are we doing a show together?
Well, dude, you have weird opinions about things in general. Right?
Dude, what?
What do you mean? Like you would rather have a 1080p 60 game you would rather play The Last of Us 2 in 1080p 60 than 4K 30.
Yes, if given a choice, I would much rather play mostly every single game with a better frame rate because the game plays better than in
That's
4K.
that's weird to me. You'd rather have the Jaggies than the full
No,
filmic
no, no,
experience.
we're not doing this filmic bull again. No. Ask Cold Eastwood. Cold Eastwood's in chat. Ask him. You rather take 1080p 60 or 4K 30? You know, I thought this gen we'd actually get 4K 60 or at least close to it enough, and it seems like maybe that won't necessarily be the case. I'll take 60 frames all day, every day. And I don't understand why someone like, well, again, someone like you plays Grounded and Minecraft Dungeons, so I mean, like, you know, what does 60 frames do for that? So, yeah, I guess, Jez. You're just, you're just, how?
I just like to see the art realized to its full potential, man.
Yeah.
You're not going to see all those facial details you were crying about earlier at 1080p. You're not going to see them.
Doesn't matter.
So you talk about, so you'd rather have blurry, fast facial animations than crisp, filmic face animations.
We're not doing this again. Like James Shields just said in chat, not again. I'm sure a lot of people are sitting here face palming because we're doing this whole filmic thing again. I'm putting my foot down. Just like, so I'm team no sticker and team 60 frames. Jez is team sticker and 30 frames per second. You are wrong, sir. You have wrong opinions on this.
Well, why do devs keep doing it then? Clearly, devs, you know, have a different opinion on this.
All right, whatever. Moving on. I don't want to get in this much into this whole discussion that we had. I'm just saying. Well, what do you think about games like Dirt 5 trying to do 120 frames then? Oh, Jez might have dropped out of the call because I don't hear him anymore.
What did you say?
I was going to say really quickly, what do you think about devs that are trying to do 120 frames then?
Well, they're not doing it in filmic games, are they? They're doing it in racing games and stuff.
Here we go. God. All right, whatever. Whatever. So there's this other thing I wanted to talk about. Tom Warren put out a tweet, which wasn't a surprise to you because we've talked about this before. But he's saying that xCloud, which is supposed to launch this year, right? Correct? Like, I don't know if it's been pushed back because everybody's working from home, but Project xCloud's currently in beta. You can get into it on Android. You can also get into it on iOS, so those spaces are limited, and the only game on iOS is Half-Life, Halo Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
So he's saying that Series X hardware will be put into xCloud sometime into 2021.
I mean, duh.
Like,
they weren't going to leave it on the Xbox One S hardware, were they?
And they would need basically all the chips and stuff, you know, currently to make the system to sell to people. So it's like, yeah, that's like the most duh statement I ever heard. We've been saying that for like over a year. I don't know. Like, I feel like
it's just kind of obvious. I don't see why that's a shock. But you know, the real reason they need to get off the Xbox One server blades is because of game core. Like, games are going to be built on a different architecture that the Xbox One S and X won't support into 2021 and 2022, which we've also talked about before a long time ago. So Game Core OS is a new development environment for Xbox One games, and it's supposed to bring Xbox and PC game development in closer unison, basically, than ever before. To achieve this, there needs to be a new developer environment, which, from my understanding, isn't actually fully ready yet. So games currently being developed for Xbox Series X today are being built on the old architecture, the Xbox One and Xbox One S and X architecture. The original Xbox One is now called Xbox One Legacy. In the system, which is interesting. But yeah, that's something else entirely. But you know, that's why they need to get them off those old systems, is because they're moving to a new developer environment. But I don't know too much about what that means. It's all about devs and how they benefit from it, basically. But I guess we'll find out more maybe sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine we're going to be getting info about xCloud, you know, because you figured this time, you know, if the what happened in the world right now, the whole virus situation. I would assume E3 would be going on, and Microsoft would probably be given a load of information about xCloud, maybe even given the release date for it if that was still going on, because all the press would be there. So maybe their plans got pushed a little bit, but I would assume we're gonna get announcements about like, hey, this is what's going on with xCloud. This is how you pay for it. Like if there is pay, because I know they said they're bringing Game Pass to xCloud, or maybe putting xCloud into Game Pass. So like if you're
It's
subscribed to
still,
Game Pass, you get
yeah.
access to it. There's some still things they got to explain in better detail on all that stuff.
Yeah, it's still unclear like whether you get it with like regular Game Pass or you have to pay for Game Pass Ultimate or there'll be like a Game Pass Cloud subscription. But it starts getting confusing at that point, right? I think like
if I had to take
ideally
a guess, Jez,
Hmm.
if you play, this is just a guess, since there's Game Pass for PC, Game Pass Ultimate, or Game Pass for console, Game Pass PC, and then Ultimate combines them both. And we do know that Microsoft is planning on bringing xCloud to Windows 10. I think it'll be one of those things where you sign up for Game Pass, you can stream the games in Game Pass on console. And if you sign up for Game Pass on PC, you can stream the games on PC using xCloud on PC. But if you sign up onto Ultimate, you get them both. You can stream games from the PC and console.
Well, I was thinking that maybe they'd do it where you get like if you're on Game Pass regular, you get like you get streaming from your own device. Like you stream from your own Xbox or something.
Well, they already have that. Console streaming exists. It's free.
Yeah. But isn't that still just a preview?
No, I mean it could be. I mean
The XCloud. The thing is, like the new version of game streaming, it has some cloud elements to it. Like I don't know how exactly it works, but it does fall back on their cloud servers in some scenarios or something, if I remember correctly.
mm-hmm.
It's not the same as the old system. So I don't know if they give that away for free. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. But I do think like the premium stuff streaming from the actual cloud, obviously that's probably going to be tied directly into Game Pass, which makes sense, right? I would say.
Yeah. Johnny Patton says in the super chat, PS5 design is neither grown nor shrunk on me. That's pretty good. And Jay Primo says, what about Filmic? Yeah, Joe, what about Filmic? What about Filmic indeed?
I think like what makes me happy is when people super chat Filmic because it forces you to read it. Because
I know, right?
you have this thing where you have to read every super chat to thank people. So if people super chat Filmic every single time, you have to read it.
That is
like I might even super chat myself just to make you read things like Pokemon is good.
no. I would use my executive privileges and just not say anything. I probably even would delete the message.
I would reach out to YouTube and accuse you of false advertising in that scenario.
Anyways, so I also think that's one of the reasons why Xbox First Party is essentially doing cross-gen for up until 2021 is because, they want to stream all their first-party games as part of xCloud. But if the next-gen server blaze won't be ready until sometime in 2021, but more than likely in 2022, because I think it's going to be in beta in 2021, then Microsoft would need a last-gen version of Halo and a last-gen version of, essentially whatever games they would put out in 2021, because how else would you be able to stream it since, the next-gen blades aren't there. So there's always business reasons behind all that stuff. So
yeah, sure.
And so I would expect xCloud stuff maybe to come in the next month or two. I don't know. Maybe they talk about July show. Maybe they don't. But all right, moving on from the xCloud stuff, we got Fumes in Super Chat saying, what about 30 frames per second? PS5 Digital Foundry did. It's Filmic. Yeah, definitely Filmic. And they are doing some 30 frames games. I did think they confirmed that Demon Souls will have a resolution mode and a performance mode, which really, honestly, if your game's not 60, and if you're shooting for 30, then it definitely needs to have a performance mode in there. I mean, these consoles are powerful enough to be able to do both. This isn't like an Xbox One. Like, these systems are so powerful, and it just feels like stuck on 30 just kind of irks me. But you know what? I want to talk a bit about Cyberpunk. Because, I
Do
guess
you
I'm
now?
going to ask you, but to my, Cyberpunk, I was not surprised whatsoever at all that it got delayed till November 19th. So, if you're unaware, Cyberpunk 2077 was originally supposed to come out in April, then they delayed it to September, now they delayed it into November, which is literally what I said was going to happen back back at last year at E3. You can roll back the tape and look. I said there's no way that game comes out in April. Mark it down for November. And here
Well,
we are.
why did you think that?
Because there's
Did you have?
no, I don't know.
Why
I had
did you think
no
that?
insight. It's like when Rockstar comes out and talks about Grand Theft Auto and gives you release date. You know they're good for a delay. You know at least they're good for one delay. And I just had no faith that CD Projekt Red would be able to hit that April time frame. They couldn't. And then I was just like, you know what? I don't think they're going to be able to hit September either. I just kind of assumed they're just going to launch in November. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they delay it to March next year. But
Seriously?
I wouldn't be surprised. Would you? Because I
Oh
wouldn't
my
be.
god, Randall cursed. You're gonna jinx it, man.
No.
You say things like that, you jinx it.
Yeah. Shinza says, "Hey, well, filmic is forbidden in my land. Thank you. Yeah, we shouldn't even talk about that. But no, I'm not surprised it got delayed. And now, of course, it's supposed to be timed with the launches of the console. Xbox Series X is supposed to be out around then. PS5 is supposed to be out around then. I put out on Twitter that I was like, hey, bright side, they get more time to kind of squash bugs. Get the game ready because obviously you don't want a shitty game coming out, right? You don't want a game that is full of bugs or maybe doesn't work properly. I'm even thinking of like my experience reviewing Ori and how much better Ori's been like 3 months later. Like it's like a much better experience because they were able to patch the game. It was like if you need to delay your game, and they're a big game, a big company, and they can do whatever they want. Other games will move out of their way. So now it's like, yeah, I'm gonna play it day one on Series X. Granted, they also confirmed in their investor call that the next gen version patch won't be available day one, which we already knew about. But however, you'll be able to play both. You'll be able to play on Series X and PS5 with the free upgrade if you buy the game on Xbox One, and that both those will actually run better. Like, I'm assuming maybe it'll have higher resolution. If they use a dynamic resolution on Xbox One X, it'll probably be boosted because the Xbox Series X can kind of do that. If the frame rate might be locked, or maybe it's unlocked, so the frame rate might shoot up to 60 frames. It'll probably have faster loading, etc., etc. So it's going to be, until you can actually get the version that they patch and make better, that'll be where I want to play, Cyberpunk. What do you think about all this, Jez? The whole Cyberpunk
I think
thing?
like the fact that it's supposedly as complicated as it is, and like it has all these intersecting systems, like they specifically called out the fact the game has intersecting systems or whatever, as a reason they wanted to check it and check for bugs and stuff like that. I probably presume that a lot of your decisions change pathways through levels and stuff like that. And I suppose they want to, go over everything because a game this I was going to say a game this buggy then, but a game that complicated almost inevitably always ends up with bugs. Like, just looking at Oblivion and Skyrim as an example, right? There's I think there are quests even now in Skyrim which you need to download a third party mod to fix. Some in my Skyrim playthroughs, I had more than one quest that I just couldn't complete because of some bug, or I'd done it in an order the game didn't like, or something like that. So the fact that they're going through to fix that stuff and make it as polished as it can be, I am totally okay with that, personally. I know it makes people mad when games are delayed, but I'd rather have a game that was polished and delayed than a game that wasn't. It's not like none of us have a backlog to get through, right?
Yeah, that's true. Some of us actually play games and have backlogs.
Yeah. But on the flip side, it's like you said, and I think I saw some other people on Twitter talking about it. I think actually Tom Warren might have tweeted about this. Or I'm not sure. Actually, maybe it was Ryan McCaffrey. I don't know. But someone tweeted something like, it eliminates the need to decide whether to play it early on current
Mm-hmm.
gen, or play it later on next gen with the boosted resolution and stuff like that. Because like we were talking about that before, weren't we? Like
Yeah.
whether you're gonna play it on the Xbox One X or wait for the Xbox Series X version, so you don't have to make that choice anymore. They've made it for you, and I'm kind of grateful for that actually,
No,
because
I mean,
I would
yeah.
have had to review it on the Xbox One X.
It
Well,
made
on the Xbox One S actually.
yeah, it made the choice easier for me, right? So it's
Yeah.
like now I know it's like, all right, well, I don't need to make that choice. Hopefully, I get a Series X because who knows about how many units they'll have. I think Jason Ronald said that they'll have more than enough. Hearing that the production on the system is going exceedingly well, so I think there'll be enough systems to go around. So I'm assuming I'll have one because when that pre-order thing is coming up, I'm gonna pre-order one and I'm at Amazon. I'm gonna pre-order one at the Microsoft Store. I might even go to GameStop and pre-order one. I don't even know. I'm gonna make sure, damn it, that I'm gonna get my Xbox
And
Series X. You know what I'm saying? And I'll do the same for PlayStation. When PlayStation 5 pre-orders open up, I'll pre-order one on Amazon. Do they have a PlayStation Store? I think they do, but I'm not sure. But either way, I'm gonna get both. But yeah, so it takes that choice away from me because I was like, now it's like, all right, yeah, I'm playing Cyberpunk on Series X, assuming, of course, Series X is out at that point, which I think it will be, or soon thereafter. Now, there's the other questions is like the game's coming out in September, like something like Avengers, right? But then the bigger even question about Avengers, and this kind of goes into with the smart delivery that Xbox has been talking about recently. Like Xbox has been really focusing on things that Sony don't have or aren't doing very like. A couple weeks ago, they really focused on back and pat and how back and pat is like all these games are going to be run better and they're all going to have like HDR and all this stuff. We talked about that before, right? Because that's a big feature that Xbox has really been doing since they brought back and pat in 2015 when Mikey Bauer was like, "We're not going to charge you twice for games you already own." So they've been hitting that hammer, that nail. Hitting that down because PlayStation really hasn't talked that much about back and pat. Okay, we got you. This week they talked about smart delivery. Jason Ronald wrote an article. He was on IGN's podcast talking about how smart delivery works. There's quotes you can find from supposedly some Sony guy in Japan that says they don't have a smart delivery system like Xbox does, but they'll support any publisher that wants to offer free upgrades. Right, and
It sounds like basically, I think the difference here is ultimately about package delivery. Like, smart delivery is sort of like a system where it detects what system is currently in operation and it will feed you the appropriate license. Whereas, like, Sony, it sounds more like they'll do like a one-way free, they'll let developers issue a one-way free upgrade or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it won't necessarily let you go back and forward between the different systems and platforms and stuff. But the thing is, Microsoft absolutely needs a system like smart delivery because of xCloud. Because at least, as Tom Warren says, at least until 2021, if you upgrade to an Xbox Series X, you'll only be able to stream like the Xbox One S versions of those games. So developers still need to make, if they're going to put their games on xCloud, they still need to make those sort of older versions of the games on the older architecture. Although I know it's a subscription-based service and you don't really necessarily get those versions that you pay for or whatever. But I don't know. When you're streaming it from your Xbox Series X to your phone, does it stream the full-blown 8K 120 frames a second version, or will it smart deliver down the more bandwidth friendly 1080p version?
I mean, that's also something Microsoft will definitely have to explain later on down the road. And shout out to Sim Vendetta. He says, "Oh man, what if the gaming industry changes the term resolution mode to filmic mode?" Had explode emoji. Jeez, don't give in to Jez's whole don't feed his ego. Adam wants to know, Rand, when is the July event? I know you know.
Do you know? Randall's psychic.
I've heard rumors. I mean, I don't know a specific date. I kind of know a range where it could be. Like if I was a betting man, I put my money on like mid to late July. Like I don't know, like right around mid July, maybe the week of the 20th, like in that range. I mean, I don't know a specific date, and maybe they don't even have one, but that would be my guess. I don't think it'll be early July. It's like mid-July is where I would probably put my chips into. Eagles fan says, hey, that PS5 smart delivery system is officially a hot mess. Digital only for some. Some you can have a disc, and the rest is no comment. It's totally filmic. Here we go with the filmic stuff. Jeez, you started a revolution here.
I love it.
And we got one from Eric Popowich. He says, I'm a Nintendard, but I really like watching the stream every week. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you. Even Nintendo fans like watching our show. And I normally shit all over Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo's all about filmic, right? It's like the most filmic system.
They're definitely the most filmic. Totally.
I like Nintendo. I'm like, Xenoblade Chronicles is like really high up on my backlog right now. That's like the next game I'm going to get to after I've sort of finished all the games I've got to play for work. You into Xenoblade Chronicles, Rand?
No, definitely not. I mean, I know people like it, but
too filmic for you?
Too filmic. So the point I was trying to make was like something like Avengers that comes out in early September, and even something like when we talk about EA plays and what they showed there about Star Wars Squadron, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at that, I'm like,
play.
Yeah, I know EA play. When I look at those, I'm like, okay, Avengers. So I know with Xbox, there's back and pat, right? So if I buy Avengers on my Xbox One, no matter what, I'll be able to play it on a Series X. We got that. Everybody knows that. The question I have is Square Enix going to do an Xbox Series X upgrade for Avengers? And if they do an upgrade for Avengers, will I get it via smart delivery? Will I get it through their own free upgrade program? And how does that free upgrade program work? Because EA has been detailing theirs lately. And if they're not doing a free upgrade and they're not using smart delivery, am I going to be expected to buy Avengers again to play it on Xbox Series X with the enhancements? Because we definitely, so nobody's come out and said yet that you're going to have to pay for an upgrade on Xbox Series X. Although, I would imagine that Rockstar will charge for Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced, right? And that considering EA is doing a time-limited thing for their upgrade on Madden, and if you currently go to the Xbox store, so anybody listening to this now, if you can go to your Xbox, if you're listening to this later, you go to the Xbox store, go to the coming soon section, right? You go over to the pre-orders, which is the coming soon section, of course. You take a look at Madden NFL 21. You can pre-order right now. You click on that and you look what's included in the bundle. It literally says Madden NFL 21 Xbox One, and then next to it Madden NFL 21 Xbox Series X, which means there's two different executable files. So when you actually buy that game digitally, you'll eventually get the license for the Series X version, which means there's two separate versions, which probably two separate achievement lists and all that good stuff. And then at some point when that free upgrade program ends, I would imagine they would start charging for it. So my question, look, I understand how smart delivery works. Like, it's pretty straightforward. You look for the icon on the box, you know what you're getting. You bought it on Xbox One, you get it on Xbox Series X. It's a no-brainer. The bigger question to me now is what happens when the developer doesn't support that and isn't offering a free upgrade path and does do an upgrade? Am I expected to pay for it? That is what I want to know from Xbox now, and I know they probably won't detail it because they want to be free of that terrible PR of charging for patches. I get it. It's why they set up the system in the first place. I mean, yeah, they want to make it easier for the player, and I get that. But also, they want to be able to say, we're not charging. We're not charging for an upgrade for Halo or any of this stuff. But somebody will. And you can already point to exactly the companies that will. So now I look at like games like Star Wars, like Star Wars Squadron, which was shown off yesterday. They haven't talked about a next-gen experience. They have with FIFA 21 and Madden 21 about, how you buy those and you get them again. So is there not one for Star Wars? And if there is one for Star Wars, is it going to be free or am I going to have to pay for it? So, those are the questions that are rolling around in my mind.
If EA was smart, and they're not, but if they were smart, they'd do it through EA Access or something. If EA Access members get a filmic upgrade to the Xbox Series X later on or something. I don't know. But, this is EA we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I saw, was it Mr. Grubb Adventure Beat?
Yes, Mr. Jeff Grubb, the ultimate insider, yes.
Yeah. He's been doing some great work recently. Shout out to him, by the way. I saw he did an article. I didn't read it, but I saw it tweeted out and put it in my reading list on Microsoft Edge trademark 2020 about why can't EA do more games with its budget, because like that EA Play was, there was Skate 4 and people were really hyped about that, but like where's the bone for Mass Effect fans? Where's the bone for Dragon Age fans? Dragon Age Inquisition was 6 years ago, and where is it? Where's the sequel? It's nowhere.
Well, yeah,
Nowhere
the
to be
EA
seen.
play was, oh my god, we need to talk about that. But shout out to Johnny Pattons. He says, mid to late July is a big mistake to me. That guaranteed Sony and PS5 another month of hype and eating attention. That's a bad move. I mean, like anything, I don't know. Like, I could be 100% wrong. I'm just saying, like, if I was a betting man, I'd bet on mid-July, around that time frame. Maybe they surprise it. I see it's like the July 4th weekend's coming up, so I just don't see that kind of half weekend in July, and then the weekend after, I don't see that. So when you actually look at the calendar, you can kind of pinpoint like what would be a good time to do it. And so it's like the week of the 13th and the week of the 20th in my mind are the 2 weeks that you basically look at. Like, they're definitely not doing it the week of the 1st. I don't think you do it the week of the 6th. So to me, it's the week of the 13th and the week of the 20th. Boom. One day in between there, someday. But I'll never tell. So what were we talking? Oh yeah, smart delivery. So that's what I want to know. Like, I want to know how that stuff works. I know Microsoft's not going to explain it because they don't want to be the one to take the PR hit. So it's going to be on. They're gonna put that pressure on the other publishers to do it. But then again, I'm also a customer of Xbox, so I would want to know about Avengers. Like, because I don't want to buy Avengers and then have to buy Avengers again. You know what I mean? Or I don't want to buy Star Wars Squadron and then have to buy it again. So that's the kind of information I'm really interested in at this point. But moving on from that, I kind of want to bring this back around to Last of Us 2. I talked about my initial impressions. But Jez, I don't know if you saw this. That game is getting review bombed into hell on Metacritic.
Which game, sorry?
Last of Us Part 2.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and I tweeted out like, "Why is it getting review bombed?" And then I realized immediately, oh, I better not ask this question in case someone gives me a spoiler.
You better not ask that question.
It seems like salty, oversensitive gamers are offended by some things in it or something.
Gamers outraged about something? No way.
Gamers outraged? Yeah. It seems to be the case, but I don't know. I'm going to play it and see for myself, because if there's something more enraging than Final Fantasy VII Remake's ending, I would be impressed to discover it.
I mean, I'm not surprised that the game is getting review bombed, and I know I see Xbot in the chat saying "Meta who." I know that's one of your trademark sayings, Xbot. I get it, but I don't know. I just find it sad, like any sort of like it, because it's not just relegated to the video game industry, right? Like, I find the idea of like, oh, there's gonna be people going in there, haven't played the game yet. I'm just gonna hit that 0, or I'm gonna hit that 10, right? Because 10s and 0s, same thing, whatever. Now you can legitimately give something a 10, and see something like a 0. I don't think you can legitimately give something a 0. Like, something to 0. Maybe, like, I guess the 0 would be a game that literally doesn't work. But, like, to me, it's like, okay, I see that stuff, whatever. But it also happens with films. It happened with, like, Black Panther. It happened with Captain Marvel, where, like, a lot of people either, gave it undeserved, maybe good reviews, or obviously undeserved bad reviews because they don't like the political leanings or any of the other stuff that goes along with it. And I just think, man, are people this sad? Here's the thing, and I've said this before about my own YouTube channel. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube. I love watching Colts videos. I love watching dealers videos. I love watching like stuff from Digital Foundry. There's many creators in this community where I love checking out their podcasts, and some of the times I don't really comment. I just kind of listen, and I definitely don't comment in other people's comment sections. Because it's like, I don't know. And here's the thing. I never would in a million years ever think of writing a user review or voting in a poll on Metacritic. Ever.
No, it
So
doesn't. It doesn't come into my purview either. I think I left a review for something on Amazon once, like a kettle or something. I bought a kettle for tea because I'm British, and the kettle didn't work, so I left an angry review. I think that's the only time I've ever user reviewed something. But I think like for some people who are salty and lonely, maybe even, and feel unheard, review bombing something is a way that can feel like their voices get heard or something. I don't know. Even if it's bullshit, a bullshit reason, but it is what it is.
yeah, it
People
just
are pretty divided on a lot of topics. Sometimes they're divided on things just for the sake of being divided. A lot of the time,
there is that
because there's a lot.
go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
I was just saying, people just want to be divided about things. Some things don't even need to have an opinion, really. They're just kind of mundane. But people are like, I'm gonna have an opinion about this because I want to be salty. I want to be outraged. I don't know. Some people are addicted to being angry. I think like a rager hole.
There's
That's a
that
thing.
perpetual cycle on Twitter where people are just looking for the next thing to be outraged about, to be angry about. And there's definitely seems to be a lot of people that would rather tear somebody down than help build them up, or talk about the negatives about something rather than the positives of something. And I think YouTube definitely plays into that, because when you look at like when all those negative like kind of leaks came out for Last of Us 2, I don't know if you guys noticed, but did you notice all those YouTubers out there chasing clicks and for the views because they knew that people would be outraged, and that those YouTubers knew people would be outraged, so they would feed into the outrage cycle to get people to click on their videos to make money. And like, people like big, I'm not going to even mention YouTubers' names, but you can definitely look, and people did 20 to 30, 15 to 20 videos about The Last of Us because people were so outraged about it, right? Of course, all the leaks ended up being like taken completely out of context, which I find absolutely hilarious because of course they were.
The
But
thing about social, like we're getting into sociology again here, but I think like the thing about social media is that human beings weren't ready for it. Ultimately, like you can look at the way Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Google's algorithms have affected discourse over the last 10, 15 years. It's just getting increasingly more toxic, increasingly more extreme, and increasingly more like we can't have a conversation because we need to pander to the algorithms. And then people get conditioned by that, and then it becomes like an endless cycle of rage and outrage and people getting salty, and you know
yeah,
it's just the way things seem to be going. So
it definitely is. And I don't know, I just find it sad we're at this point where people need to either review bomb something because they're upset about a supposed thing that they haven't even played, or they need to prop something up because they're a fan of it, right? Like, oh, I'm a fan, so I need to make sure this is a 10. Like, you're not helping anybody. You're not helping anybody by lying about if you really, really like something, and you're not helping anybody by saying it's trash if you've never played it. Whatever. You're not helping anybody. And the same thing goes for like movies, and the same thing goes for anything else in life. Like, when I ask people for, legit constructive criticism, it doesn't help me if you come up to me and say, if I go to you and I say, hey, what can I do to improve on YouTube? It doesn't really help me to say, well, you're trash, you can't, or you're amazing, you can't do anything better, right? That doesn't help me. Like, how am I supposed to learn and get better and grow as a person and grow as a YouTuber and do all those different things? Like, how is anybody supposed to grow when the reaction you get from somebody is you're the best ever or you're shit? You know what I mean?
that's like that's like Facebook and YouTube like dislike culture. Like there's no nuance in like or dislike.
Mhm.
But it trains their algorithm to figure out what people will click on and what people will engage with. And ultimately, the only thing that matters in the internet business model is whether someone will click, because there's a potential they'll click on an ad, and that's where the money comes from.
Yeah.
Like it's ironic really, because we used to talk about how YouTube and stuff like that democratized content and got it out of the hands of big corporations like Fox and AT&T and T and stuff like that, and the BBC to some degree. And it's like it can give a voice to anyone. but it's not really doing that. It's just giving people something that they need to pander to. They need to pander to a very specific subset of opinions, or else they don't get the clicks. They don't get the engagement. Like if you sit on the fence on any topic, you just don't get any traffic, and it's
you gotta take a stance. Like I was looking to improve as a YouTuber and everything, and I would ask people, and they'd be like, "Oh no, you're pretty good." And I literally had to go to Dealer, and Dealer sat me down and literally told me things that I didn't want to hear about myself. And he was like, "This is gonna be harsh. Like this is what you need to do." And he basically was like this, and then I went to Colt, and Colt gave me some pointers and some tips, and was like, you need to do this, and you need to do this, but for most people, it's like shit's trash, you're great, whatever, and it's like nobody ever improves, and I don't know, maybe that's a different kind of like tangent we're going on here, but like I don't know, I kind of view all these things as kind of similar. Everything's a 0 or everything's a 10. Anyways, shout out to Drunken Ninja. He says, if Xbox was never vocal about getting free next-gen upgrades, would we ever gotten them for free? So that's the thing, is you would think Microsoft as a company would not want to offer free next-gen upgrades because they would get a cut of the next-gen upgrades being sold, right? So as like an overall company, you would think it's better for their bottom line if there weren't free upgrades. Because if you sell Grand Theft Auto 5 on Xbox One, and then Rockstar is being like, we want to sell it again on Xbox Series X, and they sell another 5 million copies on Series X, that's more money Microsoft makes. So if they do a smart delivery system, then that's money that they're not making. And in fact, it's probably money that they're losing because somebody had to build the system, correct? You had to pay somebody to make the system. So,
but it comes back to what we talked about last week, where their only sort of KPI is engagement, right? They all they care about is engagement, and this sort of gives them the differentiation, which would help them with engagement, but it also kind of it ensures that all those communities stay together, which drives engagement, right? If the communities are split up, there's less engagement because it just is less connections and less people to play with and stuff like that. And then you end up in situations where PUBG has no servers and takes 15 minutes to find a game and stuff like that.
Shout out to Snake Eyes 23. He says, how do you review a 20-hour game in a few hours, as a lot of the bad reviews came out immediately after it released? I mean, I don't know. I try to review a game once I finish it. I'm not really in the rat race to get a review out like right away, but I mean, if the 20-hour game and you review it after 10, as long as you maybe say these are my impressions or what it is, I don't know. I guess it's the terminology used, but I always try to like wait until I finish something to give my thoughts on it. And Jedi says, hey, what are your thoughts about the EA Play Star Wars Squadron gameplay footage, and did you notice Star Wars Rebel character Sindala? Love the show. We're about to talk about EA Play here in just 1 minute. We're gonna be going over all that stuff. So appreciate all the support, guys. Appreciate everybody in chat having a good time talking about gaming. So with that said, let's talk about EA Play, Jez. Give me your thoughts. What did you think about this show?
Well, I actually didn't watch it because
of course you didn't, because you never watch anything. Do you watch anything? Because I'd almost make you watch the Sony thing. Because like, hey, we're talking about this.
These events are on at like 1 a.m. in Germany. So there was no way I was going to stay up to watch that. And to be fair, I'm bloody well glad I didn't, because like our team was covering it, and they were all talking about how bad it was. So I looked at the things that were announced, and I watched the trailers after the show, and I'm amazed that EA somehow managed to outbad their last event. Like, there was just nothing there. Like, Star Wars Squadrons looks amazing. I'm really into that. I like my flight sims and stuff like that. I've been playing Elite Dangerous recently. I got my flight stick. I'm down for that. I'm totally on board with that. Never played a skate game before. I was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater kid, though, so I'm intrigued about that. But other than that, what was there? There was nothing.
Well,
really.
Okay, so here, I have the announcements, and we're just going to briefly go over them, right? So they started off with Apex Legends, which maybe is probably a smart move for them because it's probably outside of FIFA and Madden the one that's probably making the most money. As Jez would always say to me, it's about the margins, Rand. It's about the margins. Always says
It is
that.
about the margins.
Basically, they're bringing Apex Legends to Steam. They announced crossplay for the end of the year between all the systems, which is great. And that's kind of the theme for the show. Was almost everything was announced for crossplay. Like everything's gonna have crossplay. And of course, EA being one of the biggest publishers out there, probably is one that could actually force that to happen sooner rather than later. And then they're bringing that to Switch as well, which I'm sure my buddy James is really excited about playing Apex Legends on his Switch. He loves Apex Legends.
The filmic edition.
The filmic edition, yeah.
Dude, I just want to say, like, by the way, with regards to that, I don't like this whole publisher push for cross-play with PC. Like whenever you play Call of Duty or Overwatch, and there's someone in the game with one of those mouse and keyboard adapters, they're gonna win. Like seriously, I was playing Overwatch the other day, and there was someone on the enemy team who blatantly had a mouse and keyboard. Like it was blatant. They were turning really fast, and they were doing like precision diagonal aiming and stuff like that. And it was just obvious how fast they were turning and how fast they were aiming. That they had a mouse and keyboard adapter, like one of those things that you can buy.
Right.
And they just destroyed our team just because one of them had this mouse and keyboard adapter. Now, if you factor in PC and Steam, like you're gonna end up in games where it's basically like the team that wins is the team that's gonna have more PC players because they have that precision. I think like if they wanna add mouse and keyboard support to Apex Legends on Xbox, then split people by input, then that's great. But just throw in Switch players at 30 frames per second in with PC players at 120 frames per second, that is just dumb. It's dumb, and I don't know who that benefits except the PC players who get some free kills. I don't know what the logic there is. If there's someone in the industry who's watching who thinks that's fair, please explain to me your logic. I would love to hear about it.
I don't think PC crossplay with consoles is fair at all. I've been saying that since day one, and you know, like I know people complained about it in Sea of Thieves, and I think they eventually added the opt-out thing. There should always be an opt-out from that stuff. Unfortunately, even with Warzone, like you can't really opt out of it on Xbox. You can try to, but it just will never find a game. It's almost like mandatory. Yeah, I'm not a fan of PC and console crossplay because, like, I mean, I'm sorry,
fair.
like mouse and keyboard, 120 frames, 140, like 240 frames versus a console controller and like locked at 60. You know, like they have an advantage. Now, maybe you could argue that it works in something like, you know, a battle royale because people die and you can die, you know, like really quickly. It doesn't really matter. But like in other type of game modes where it's just like team deathmatch, that's obviously like a bigger thing. I don't like it either. But they seem to be pushing it. Hopefully it becomes a standard. But I also want a standard of being like, I don't want to play with PC players. I just don't. You know?
I mean, at least in Overwatch, there are characters that don't really need precision. Like I could play whenever I get in a team with someone using a mouse and keyboard, I switch to Wrecking Ball and I just squash them with the hamster ball because you don't really need to aim. You know, it doesn't matter how fast they're turning. I'm still going to squash them. I'm still going to knock them off an edge.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad. But in games like PUBG and Call of Duty especially, man, like when you get someone in Call of Duty with a mouse and keyboard, it's so blatant. And it's so unbalancing to the game. I don't know why anyone thought that was a good idea, but at least in Call of Duty, you can opt out. I think, is that right? You can, right?
No, I mean in Warzone you can't because you can opt out, but it won't find a game. So you most essentially have to play with crossplay on.
Have you been wrecked by people with a mouse and keyboard?
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell in Warzone because you die so fast. It's really incredibly hard to tell. So I'm not really sure. I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised. But gotta give a shout out to Jay Little. He says some people really don't like the story of Last of Us. Some people are mad at how Sony was taking down channels, and some people are just trolls. Yeah, I mean, even if you don't like the story of Last of Us, I don't think the game deserves a 0. I guess, and some people are mad that Sony was taking down channels. I get that. You know, basically using the DMCA, you know, to strike stuff down is pretty shitty. But even still, like, I don't think that's worth a 0. And some people are just trolls. Well, yeah. I mean, have you seen the community that we're in on Twitter? Most of the people are trolls and don't play shit. Axel says, "Hey, I love crossplay in PvE games, but I hate it in PvP modes, including unranked. Talk to Phil about this, Rand." I actually had a conversation with Phil about that a long time ago. I gave him my thoughts. I'm like, I don't think I should be able to, like, I pay for Xbox Live. I should be able to turn this shit off. I pay whatever amount of money a month. Well, I have Game Pass Ultimate, but like I pay for this shit. I should be able to turn it off and not be forced into like PvP stuff. Like PvE, like you said, 100%. Like I want to play, like Left 4 Dead 3 with the boys, and one of them's on, PC. Then yeah, that's great, because who's that harming? Nobody. But really, it should really just be Xbox and PlayStation, and I don't like Switch. I even think Epic had to remove Switch from the console. Like they had to remove Switch from the console crossplay and put it against like mobile phones or something. I remember reading or something like that, just because like how awful it was for Switch players. So yeah, I don't think the crossplay with PC is fair. Shinza says, "Hey, EA is not ready for next gen. See next year." Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that. They definitely aren't. So there was that announcement. Sims 4 is coming to Steam alongside like stuff like Dead Space 3 and Titanfall 2, which is interesting because they put the worst Dead Space on Steam. Like if you put a good Dead Space game on Steam, put Dead Space 1 or 2.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
They're gonna put all their games on Steam. Hey, are they killing Origin?
I don't know. Origin still exists, but I mean, you would think with them putting on Steam, who would use Origin?
It's a smart move. It's a smart move because Origin is.
Yeah.
You just can't compete with Steam. Like I don't want Steam to have a monopoly, because like I wouldn't say they're abusing their monopoly right now, but like imagine if Gabe Newell quit, and he sold Steam to Apple.
Right.
Imagine if they sold Steam to Apple, that would kill everything. Like Apple are like the scummiest company when it comes to that kind of stuff. So it would be bad. Like monopolies are fine until they're not. It only takes one evil overlord to completely kill like a whole ecosystem with a monopoly. But I guess in those situations, maybe Epic Games would become more competitive if they offered an alternative to that situation or whatever. But I don't think you can compete with Steam really these days. You just can't do it.
I want to give a shout out to the 1,250 of you that are rocking out with us today. That's a big number, especially on a Friday at like 4 p.m., 3 p.m. So me and Jez really appreciate that. That's pretty ridiculous to see how far the podcast has come since we've been doing it for 3 years. So thank you guys. And if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. Jez, what do you think about that? Almost 1,300 people watching live.
I think they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, really? They're listening to us? We're a bunch of nobodies. Like, and they're all watching grounded gameplay. Microsoft should be like, oh my god, look at all these people who get to see Grounded. Like, I did more marketing for Grounded than you did, Microsoft. I don't really mean that if anybody's listening at Xbox, by the way. So, I kid. So what else did they say? Oh, so they announced 3 indie games. Hazelight, Joseph Ferris came out that he announced their next game after Brothers and A Way Out, and it's called It Takes Two. And it seemed pretty cool. It seemed to be like it was like they said like parents were getting divorced, and it was like these kind of emotion like characters that were like wooden dolls that became like your emotions, and you played through it or whatever. Not really much gameplay from it, but I'm always down. His studio makes really good games. And then there was a game from Zoink Studios called Lost in Random. I really dug the art style in that, and you like play with like a 6-sided die. So that's going to be interesting. I think both those games are 2021. And then Final Strike unveiled Rocket Arena, which is my first thought was, hey, it's Bleeding Edge meets Overwatch, or kind of Rocket League maybe, where it's like,
I don't know. It looks kind of interesting. I want to check that out a bit more.
Yeah. So basically, you have rockets. It's 3v3. Now, the interesting part about this was that Nexon originally published this game, and they dropped it, and EA picked it up. And it was originally going to be free to play, but this version, Rocket Arena, is coming out July 14th, and it'll be $30. So, and crossplay at launch. So that's interesting that it went from free to play to $30. I wonder how that will affect the game, although it is crossplay. So maybe it'll have a pool of people. Then the big showing, in my opinion, like the big thing about this show, this was like the big kind of like, we're going to focus on this, was Star Wars Squadrons from EA Motive. They showed off a really like 6-minute like gameplay demo of the game, showing off like the single player portion and the multiplayer. They announced that it's coming to it's going to be supported in VR. You can only play it in first person. It looked kind of cool. I am interested in playing it, especially if there's really nothing else around in October when that does launch. However, it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. They said nothing about next gen. Now, I know we'll be able to play in back and pat on the new systems, so I am curious to see if that game is going to get supported on next gen with upgrades. But the fact that they're not really talking about it leads me to believe that maybe either they don't know or they have no plans on it.
I think they will. I think it's clearly the fact that it's only $30 indicates to me that it's a smaller team working on it, maybe, or it's like they took the remains of the other EA Motive game and sort of split it out into its own game to cut their losses or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's basically how Overwatch was made. It was going to be Overwatch was going to be a whole MMO, and then they were like, oh, actually, this doesn't work. And then they were like, let's cut our losses and turn it into a shooter. Luckily, that worked. So
yeah,
I think this might be a similar scenario.
Well, I definitely am interested in playing the campaign. I don't know so much about the multiplayer. They showed it off.
I am so hyped for that game.
You are?
I love aerial combat. Like, I did so much of the aerial combat in Battlefront 2, even though it's the flying and that's quite simplistic compared to like maybe Elite Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Like Elite Dangerous, you have to like change the power load on the different modules in your systems. You can actually, like, in Elite Dangerous, if you want to get like really crazy with it, you can like turn off parts of your ship to boost the battery power on other parts of your ship, on your lasers and stuff like that. And it can get like really complicated. Like, that's Elite Dangerous PvP is almost too complicated for me. But I imagine this will hit like a more of a sweet spot, and I do love flying around and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I play a lot of those games.
And then they did a little segment where it was just kind of a trailer of EA Sports, where they showed footage of the next generation titles like from Madden and FIFA. They didn't really mention this on stream, but later like they tweeted out like FIFA. If you buy FIFA, you'll be able to play FIFA next gen, and it's kind of like the same thing as Madden. Seems like it's you'll just get the two versions for free. So they're doing that. And then they kind of ended the show with a look at next generation games, for work from like stuff on DICE, which we hear the next Battlefield is set in modern times, which is absolutely amazing because that's the thing. Like, DICE should have never, like, I know they took the, like, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, the Bad Company games were so freaking amazing. I thought like DICE was about to break through and be like, all right, we're going to really challenge Call of Duty. And then like Battlefield 1 was good. Even you can make an argument it was really, really good, and then they took a step backwards with Battlefield 5, and I think like
I personally, Battlefield 1 is personally my favorite Battlefield of all time.
See, I mean, the one I played the most was probably Battlefield 3 for me.
Yeah, I actually think I played Bad Company 2 the most.
Actually, you might be right on that. I played Bad Company 2 a lot.
Yeah, I played that like on both PC and Xbox. Because I had friends playing it on PC and I had friends playing on Xbox. I ended up ranking up on both systems. Like, that's how much I played that game. Oh man, do you remember the VSS in Bad Company 2?
Yes, I do.
That's silenced sniper rifle. That was just so good. I think I have never had more fun actually with the Bad Company since then. Battlefield, sorry, but I played that mostly on PC, I think. But as for console ones, I think Battlefield 1 was my favorite. But yeah, it's like you say, Battlefield 5. What even happened? I feel like the debacle over Battlefront 2 impacted Battlefield 5 as well, because I feel like maybe they had to move devs off Battlefield 5 to save Battlefront, which arguably they did. Like, Battlefront's a decent game now, but Battlefield 5 really suffered for it. Like, they were saying they were gonna add, because they added that really weird mechanic where you stayed on the ground after you died. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was strange to me. I don't know why, but they wanted to like add a tactical aspect to that where you could drag people who were on the ground, but for some reason they never added it. Like there were technical issues with trying to add it or something. Like it was in all the trailers where you could drag people to safety, but they never included it. And there was just loads of features they didn't include until much later, like tank customization and stuff. And then by the time they started adding the stuff that they promised they were going to add, they announced they were stopping support of it. So I think that was all the Battlefront stuff that screwed up Battlefield 5, I think. A lot of people don't really make that connection, but I really do believe that. Hopefully they can sort things out, because isn't Vince Zampella now overseeing all that
He's
stuff?
overseeing all of DICE, but I think he's like overseeing DICE and the DICE LA, which Jeff Grubb said on Twitter, DICE LA, or there was a Battlefield Bad Company remaster coming that was canceled. So we'll have to see what they're doing. But then they also showed Criterion, like they're working on a new Need for Speed game, which is interesting because Ghost has been making the new Need for Speeds for a couple years now, or a couple iterations. So Criterion's going back. They showed what presumably is Dragon Age 4, or what it looks like really like quickly, like what BioWare's doing and what EA Motive's doing. But it just really seemed like, yeah, we don't have any of this ready to show. It's still years away. And then they ended on Skate, right? They're like, oh, Skate, we're coming back. And they're like, oh, we just started. And it's like, well, it's cool to see Skate coming back for all the people that really, really like that franchise. They basically said, yeah, you know what? We're at the very beginning of all this, so I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Skate until 2023, maybe 2024, depending on how long they spend on it. And I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like Activision looks like they're bringing back Tony Hawk because they're doing the Tony Hawk remake this year. Maybe they continue on with that franchise, and like EA's like, well, shit, we need something, so bring back Skate, you know?
Yeah, that's probably their response. It's like Activision was like, if you go on EA's Instagram page, or well, even their Twitter, and just look at any post on their Instagram, the comments are just spammed with Skate. They're just spammed with Skate, like just people saying Skate, 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 like. And Activision must have noticed that, and they must have been like, well, there hasn't been a Skate game, a decent Skate game for ages, so maybe it's time, you know.
Yeah, maybe. But where the F was Mass Effect. Like that game's coming this year, and they didn't even bother showing it. Like, what is up with that? Like, so my overall impressions of the show was, thank you, EA, for showing me what a truly god awful garbage shit show it was. Like, you truly can be. Because, like, when you watch this, and then you watch, like, the PlayStation reveal, and then you even watch the Inside Xbox for May, you have a really deeper appreciation for the stuff that Microsoft and Sony showed. Because what they showed was god-awful. And the one thing I will say, at least they use pretty decent cameras. At least everybody looked good with the high-definition cameras they're using. I swear to God, if Microsoft comes in with their July event, and I have to look at people on a freaking 420p webcam in July, the vein on my forehead is gonna get real big. It's like everybody else is showing you how it's done. Like EA literally just showed you, Sony showed you. There's like whatever. You're Microsoft. Like there shouldn't be a problem. Film something in a studio with the camera. Like, come on. That's the only thing that was good about their show. That was it. Because the rest of it was just a waste of 45 minutes. Complete waste of 45 minutes. I mean, I'm not saying that like Star Wars Squadron looks like a bad game, but when that game is your centerpiece, and it's not even a full price game, it's $40. And they're not even talking about next gen with that game. And then your whole next gen tease, which is happening now, is like, here's some concept art and with some looks, you know, and it's really quick trailer. And like, oh, look at this face that the DICE people are really doing. You know, like, oh, look how crazy and great that looks. It's like, man, you really screw. I don't know what else to say about that. It was awful. It might have been one of the worst EA shows they've ever done, and you never expect anything out of EA, whatsoever.
I just don't get why. It used to be back in the day that first party was there to supplement gaps in the third party lineup. But nowadays, it feels like it's flipped, where first party is starting to do the heavy lifting, like Sony and Microsoft too. Hopefully, with Xbox Game Studios, they're going to be doing the heavy lifting, while the third parties pivot entirely to service-driven microtransaction games. That's kind of what it feels like we're getting to now.
Yeah.
I hope that, and like EA talking up its indie division because they don't want to invest in serious single player games. They just want to sort of, supplement it with indie games and stuff like that because they don't want to they don't want to try and compete with CD Projekt Red or Naughty Dog and stuff like that. Like I tweeted this out. I wouldn't be surprised if we never see Dragon Age. I wouldn't be surprised. And Dragon Age is one of my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorite franchises of all time. Like I played Dragon Age Origins maybe more than any other single player game. I've completed that game like a bajillion times in every way imaginable, and we probably never going to get a sequel to Inquisition, and it makes me really sad.
That's true.
I cry every time.
Yeah, so if like Sony's show, I think I gave an 8.5, and I gave Inside Xbox a 7. This EA show, I probably would give like a 2. Like even I would. I know it's really in to give something a 0, like everybody Last of Us on the Metacritic page, but they at least showed up. They put in some effort. What they showed wasn't very good, but they had high definition cameras, so you get a 2 for me.
They get a 2 for the cameras.
Yeah, and normally I like Greg Miller a lot. But Greg Miller kind of came off a tad bit overdramatic and cringy during this thing. Like I really like watching Kind of Funny, and I like watching their breakdowns, especially with Blessing. But like I don't know, Greg Miller really turned his persona like over the top yesterday. Like I don't think they understand. Like even with like when they do Inside Xbox with some of the jokes that they used to throw out, like I don't understand they. Like, I think the people writing those things don't understand how cringy it comes across as. Because I don't think Greg wrote what he was saying. I mean, I think it was clearly, like, planned out for him. And, like, some of those things was just, like, it just was bad. So, they get, like, a 2 or a 3 for me. Like, it was truly, truly awful. And Jedi in Super Chat says, I'm Commander Shepard, and I did not like EA Play. What a shame. Even Commander Shepard didn't like me. Didn't like it. The Darj Knight, the Fire Rises brother, who is finally playing greatness. He just started up God of War, but he's here listening to us. So am I better than Kratos, Darj Knight?
Wow.
Are we better than God of War? He says, great show, lads. I'm getting back to God of War. Can't wait for butt snacks. Hashtag stop bullying me. It's about time you got a PlayStation, Darj, and it's about time you experience God of War and Spider-Man and all the great games that PlayStation has put out this generation. About time, and we'll never stop bullying you. But it is also time for bug snacks. Sin Vendetta, he says, EA lost me when Mass Effect Andromeda was such a letdown. EA is worse than Activision. Yeah, they kind of...
That is stinging criticism.
They really kind of killed the franchise. Like they moved and Mass Effect away from BioWare and gave it to a studio who only did DLCs. It was like their first game, and then essentially they killed the show. Somebody says, let me get this straight. You give the Inside Xbox event in May a 7? That was complete bullshit. Jai will be good, but the May event sucked complete. Well, Mr. Barack Obama, that's the thing about opinions, my dude. Okay, maybe I should rephrase this. The May event for actual games shown was a 7 in my opinion. But as the first showing of Series X gameplay, that was a 2. It was pretty much an abject failure in that regard. But thank you for telling me what you think.
You didn't like the penis monsters in Squad?
I guess not. I mean, I don't see how you couldn't. That thing was fire. Anyways, Jez, we need to talk about the July show and the night of mic drops and this rumor going around about a $199 Xbox Lockhart or a $399 Xbox Series X. What do you think about all this? I'm sure people have DM'd you. You probably thought about covering it on Windows Central. That seemed to really get blown up by the forum poster from Beyond, and everybody's talking about it. What do you think about the validity of these things?
I don't believe it. It sounds like wishful thinking to me.
Mm?
I would be shocked, man. I mean, who knows? Maybe it is the case. Maybe Microsoft's planning to take a very dangerous loss and hoping they'll make it all up on services and stuff. And maybe they will. But I would be genuinely shocked if Lockhart was that cheap. Genuinely. What do you think?
I would be absolutely 100% shocked if they were that cheap. Like I think Lockhart will come in at $299 and Series X will be $500 with the possibility Microsoft maybe matches Sony at $450 if somehow they were able to get the digital edition, or maybe the one with the disc drive at $450. Like maybe if Sony's the highest version they're selling is a $399 digital edition and a $450 disc edition, then maybe Microsoft remains agile enough to get that to match the $450 one. But I don't see a scenario where they're going to come in with Series X at $400, because that would be an incredible loss. And if you're coming in at Series X at $400, then yeah, Lockhart would have to be $200, and that would be an insane loss. I mean, I said this in my last video, like in 2017 we got the Xbox One X for $500, and Phil said they sold that at cost, which means it cost them $500 to build the thing and sell it. And look at what we're getting with Series X. We're getting like an actual SSD that has some pretty fast speeds on it. You're getting a way better GPU. You're getting a Zen 2 CPU, which is way beyond the Jaguar. And you expect Microsoft to sell that for $100 less than they sold the One X for? I think some people's, like, sure, would it be an aggressive move by Microsoft? Yeah, that would be ridiculously aggressive. $400 Series X? That would be insane. That would be, as Phil would say, bold, right?
Bold.
But I can't imagine them doing that, because the Lockhart's there to basically be like, well, we can give you the really expensive system because we have this really cheap system. I just can't see that scenario, like, because they would lose so much money. And yeah, I get your point about like making it up digitally, making it up in subscriptions and all that stuff. But no way. Like, I just don't see it. Like, the lowest I think they go with Series X is $450, and that would be to match Sony. The Glitch Doctor says in Super Chat, I never would have thought I could enjoy a two-man show, but now I am here every week. Keep it up, guys. Greetings from Germany. Oh, thank you. It looks like he's nearby to you, Jazz, because Germany's a really small country, right? Probably next door neighbors or something.
Small. Pretty small.
Probably next door neighbors.
80 million people, not that many.
Yeah. But I think the more validity of the stuff isn't so much the price, because who knows? Like, Sony and Microsoft are really like, who's going to go first? Because we're not going first. Because they each want to respond to one another. And I'm sure, because I even seen this sentiment that, well, like, the PlayStation 5 can't be $399, because if it was, Sony would have announced it at this event. Like, they would have ended the show and been like, the digital edition, $399, and people would have been like, oh my god, because everybody's expecting a large price. And that does make sense if you look at it a certain way. Like, okay, yeah, maybe that does make sense. Like, if they could have ended that show and people would have been super hyped. But, like, I also think, like, well, what if they're waiting for Microsoft to give the price, and Microsoft comes out and says $500, and then Sony's like, nah, bitch, $399. Then that price announcement is even bigger in retrospect. And considering Sony's looks like they're doing another event in August, maybe that's their whole plan. So you can't really, you can see both sides of the angles, but at the end of the day, I think both these companies know exactly what they're going to price it at. And I don't, like, they're just kind of waiting for the first one to kind of go first. And shout out to The Dealer Gaming. He says, shout out to the Xbox 2 crew and looking forward to Jez's debut on RDX. Yeah, Jez, when does that happen? And when's Dealer going to be able to get you on RDX?
Yeah, I've already spoke to Dealer. We are going to do RDX when I'm in England, because I'll be able to stay up whenever, and it doesn't really impact anything. So, yeah, I will be on. I'll be on RDX.
And you're going to England really soon, right?
Yeah, Monday.
So are you going to be on Tuesday's edition of RDX, or maybe the week after?
Maybe the week after. I might be maybe knackered on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna aim for the one after it, maybe. Yeah,
All right.
nice.
Definitely have to stay up and listen to that one.
Yeah.
I usually always listen, but I don't always listen to everything. There's a lot of naughty words they say on that show. You know what I mean?
Naughty words?
No,
What
very
about
very
demonic?
naughty. Dealer
About
runs like an
demonic vibration?
NC-17 channel over there. You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but the July show of Night of Might drops. Now, you teased it earlier that you're getting pretty excited about it. Normally, you're someone who holds your reservations back.
Yeah. I've been disappointed by Microsoft quite a lot over
As
the years.
a lot of people have been. Sure. Yeah.
But I am like I'm only hearing good things about this. Like I've got a lot of industry contacts and the general thinking in the industry from everyone I've spoken to is that there's just a lot of excitement for Microsoft and what they're going to be doing to grow their platform and stuff like that. And a lot of it honestly revolves around Halo. Like a lot of the positivity I'm hearing revolves around Halo. And I'm not a Halo fan, Rand.
I know
you
you're
it.
not, which is a shame. So you're not a Halo fan. You love 30 frames games and don't want anything to be 60 because it's filmic. And you also are on Team Sticker. How are we even doing a podcast? How are we friends? You're everything I hate, essentially.
You also hate survival games.
I do, and you love survival games.
I'm like one of my favorite genres. You don't like tactics games either. You just like.
I'm true
I don't
gamer.
know.
You're just a fake gamer. Shout out to
filmic games. All the games you like are 30 frames per second.
I gotta give a shout out to A Squad Gaming. He says, "Great job keeping up with all the news, fellas. Great time to be a gamer. With Xbox making over $100 million a month with Game Pass and all, do you think they could shock the world at $3.99?" Well, they definitely would shock the world at $3.99. However, I just don't see it happening at all. And I'd be interested in seeing what Dealer has to say about this on RDX. I think your expectations should be the system will come in at $500, and if they can get it at $3.99, then that's a huge accomplishment. But expecting $3.99, I think you're just going to end up disappointed, and you're going to be like, man, $3.99, that would have been so cool. No. Expect $500, and maybe you get $450 if they match Sony. Other than that, like they would lose so much money. And JoJo says, "Hey, rank BR games sometime. Apex is number one for me. For me, probably still PUBG and then Warzone, then essentially Apex." But back to the topic at hand. So you're hearing a lot of good stuff about Halo, huh?
Yeah, I am, and I'm not really someone who cares about Halo. So it's weird that I'm hearing so much good stuff about Halo, and I'm excited for Halo fans, and hopefully. I've played all the Halo games, and I always play them with my brother in co-op usually. And I don't hate them. I just think they're I just don't really get them. Maybe it's like I don't know. I don't really like military shooters in general. Like I never play the Call of Duty campaigns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like this has that sort of military angle to it, which I'm not that interested in usually. I like fantasy games. I also like more violent shooters. I like Doom. I like Blood and Guts. That's why, like, when they remove the Flood, they basically remove the blood and guts from the game, because the Flood was the level where you get the shotgun out and you blow the mobs up and stuff like that, and then they removed the Flood, which was like my favorite mobs to fight in that game. Like those robot things. I can't even remember what they're called. The Prometheans, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
yes, the Prometheans. Yeah, and I don't like fighting them either.
I hate that whole thing. Like I wish they'd just go away. Like what was his name? I can't even remember his name. Like from Halo 5. No, the
the Didact? Yeah, the weird looking dude. He looked super cool in his armor, but as soon as he took his helmet off, you were like, put that helmet back on.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole plot of Halo 5, but I did really like the plot of Halo Wars 2 and the Brutes, and I thought that was cool. Like, and what they did there. So I'm hoping that the Banished come back as a way of sort of reviving the more interesting antagonists, but. Yeah, I'm only hearing good things about Halo. Like, I'm only hearing good things. So I'm really hoping that they nail it, because I know a lot of Halo fans didn't like Halo 5. And the series has sort of fallen out of favor, I suppose, over time. And it was Xbox's flagship sort of franchise, right?
Yeah, I mean, it still is, in my opinion. I still think Halo. Like, I know there was a movement around Gears 4 to be like Gears is the new face of Xbox, and like, nah, dude, sorry, not happening.
Who said that? Did anyone
There's
actually?
a bunch of people around that thought like Gears was suddenly on the level of Halo, and I'm like, Gears will be never. Gears isn't even qualified to sniff Halo and Master Chief's jock. Okay, like Gears is nothing compared to Halo. But yeah, I mean,
I've always preferred Gears to Halo just because of the
yeah,
the
I know
gun.
you love the gore and you love the chainsaw and you love cutting people in half and stuff. At least we do agree on that.
Like
So
you could do that in the old Halo games. You could cut a flood in half with a shotgun in the old Halo games. Like, why did they remove that?
I don't know.
It just removed all the horror from the game, and those stupid robot things are just lame. They're like it's like something you see in Fortnite, man. I'm sorry, they're not scary at all. They're lame. I hate them. Stop putting them in Halo. Thanks. Okay, thanks. Bye.
So Mariana says, "Hey, Spill guys, what's with this Halo being third person God of War status talk? Lol, sorry guys, just being impatient and want info." Yeah. So there was so Dealer actually on RDX said that Halo and God of War would have something in common, but he didn't say what it was. And websites started picking up on it, and then Cloberl kind of confirmed in a way that I guess Halo's single player is going to be single shot cinematic camera like God of War was. So it's not third person, obviously, but essentially there won't be any camera cuts. At least that's what, the talk is. So
you're saying it's going to be a bit more filmic?
well, I don't know how it can be a bit more filmic when it's going to be 60 frames on Series X and potentially 120 frames in the multiplayer. That just ruins your whole filmic narrative, Jez.
Single shot's pretty filmic though. It's like cinematic,
Yeah,
like
but it's all. But that game's going to be 4K 60 on Series X.
Yeah, but dude, what if I set my TV to 30 hertz?
Why the hell would you set it to 30 hertz?
I do it just to annoy
you. Should,
man.
You should get a C9 or a CX and set that baby to 120 hertz.
Yeah, I don't think my TV can even do 30 hertz. I'm gonna have to
TV can't. So.
What I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna buy a CRT monitor and hook it up to my Xbox Series X, and that's how I'm gonna play Halo Infinite. I'm gonna play Halo Infinite on CRT somehow. I wonder if that's even possible. I might write an article about that. Playing Xbox on a CRT monitor in 2020.
You should. And then you should probably write an article about how to turn on game mode on the Xbox or set the, 60 hertz on your TV. And Star-Lord asks, hey, what's the plausibility Microsoft scoops up NetherRealm and Rocksteady? Any word on Warner Brother games? Is AT&T really selling? Is just a wishful rumors? Plausibility. Like, I'm sure Xbox has done their due diligence and looked into it, right? Because I think Warner Brothers Gaming, it's kind of like the Bethesda rumors and all this other things that, like, if Google's interested or Sony's interested or Amazon, then you can't be blindsided by that. You have to do your due diligence, kind of see what's there, see how much it would cost, because that would be a big hit. Like, imagine if Sony bought Warner Brothers and then also got the license for Batman and stuff like that. That would be big. Or your potential competitors. So, like, I'm sure behind the scenes they've worked out all the financials, they've looked at it. The question is, does it really make sense for, someone like Microsoft or, Sony to really do that? Not really. Unless like you had all this surplus of money and Satya was really like, all right, I'm seeing what I want to see and the trajectory of the platform. Make this deal, and then you get the studios, you get the IPs, you license out the stuff, and then you can kind of have your superhero stuff on the Xbox side to grow Game Pass, to grow xCloud. But I'm not really sure, like, maybe they've hit those targets. And then you look at it like, well, if you do get the Warner Brothers gaming division, that's a lot of people, that's a lot of redundancies. Like their PR firm would have to be all fired because Xbox doesn't need it. Their publishing wing doesn't need to exist because Xbox publishes, they're a publisher, so that's gone. So there's a lot of redundancies that you would have. A lot of people would lose their jobs, and you essentially just be buying the studio. You just be buying the studios. You bring NetherRealm and Rocksteady, and all those, and sure, they would be great gets, 100%. Imagine Rocksteady as an Xbox first-party studio or NetherRealm. They could work on Killer Instinct or do Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct. They would be crazy. There's their fighting developer. So, but I would think Microsoft might be more interested if they could buy one of those studios piecemeal. Like if Warner Brothers was, if AT&T was selling them, like, highest bidder gets, NetherRealm, and we're just gonna sell NetherRealm. Like, I could see Microsoft being incredibly interested in that studio, but not necessarily wanting some of the other ones. You know what I mean?
I would like, if I was Microsoft, I would just buy NetherRealm. That's the only studio I think would be worth the money. I think like Rocksteady's only worth as much as the IP of Batman at the moment, to be honest. Like they haven't really proven that they can apply that to another franchise. And at the same time, I think like Warner Brothers would want a lot of money for Rocksteady because they will have invested a lot of money in that studio. So, but I think NetherRealm, if they got NetherRealm with Mortal Kombat somehow, I think that would be a great pick up for Microsoft because you get like a studio that could potentially, and like I said this before, that NetherRealm could make a Killer Instinct game, but people were like, oh no, we don't want Mortal Kombat combat in Killer Instinct. But there's nothing to suggest they'd make Killer Instinct light Mortal Kombat. It's like Double Helix and Iron Galaxy hadn't made Killer Instinct before, but they did a pretty damn good job of it,
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could make a good Killer Instinct game with like good cinematics and stuff, and bring that expertise across, and while having Mortal Kombat as well as like their alternative game, and make them into like sort of service type games which they can push, and also it's just a lot more characters and IP that they can add to the sort of Xbox Game Studios pantheon, you know.
Yes.
But it's also about whether Microsoft even cares about fighting games because it's still a pretty niche genre, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know people are hoping for Killer Instinct 2 to come out at some time. I know Maximilian's been kind of beating that drum for a bit, and there was that documentary. But I mean, you've always said, like, you've heard like nobody's working on it, even though Microsoft would like to work on Killer Instinct. They just don't have a dev who's able to do it, right?
Pretty much.
Essentially.
I mean, like, Double Helix was bought by Amazon, and God knows what they're doing now. I don't even know what they're
Did they
doing.
release Crucible? Was that their game that just completely bombed?
I don't think it was their game. I don't. Oh, maybe it was. I don't know. But and Iron Galaxy, like, they just sort of stewarded the engine that Double Helix had made. They made some good characters with that game, but I don't know if they're the right choice to make a full blown game because Killer Instinct, the next Killer Instinct would have to be better than Killer Instinct 1, especially in the sort of story and longevity department, because Killer Instinct's quote unquote story was like something you get from a fighting game in the 90s. It was easily the weakest part of that game. And a lot of people do play fighting games just for that part of it, like because the competitive stuff is hard to get into if you're just not into it, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wanna hope that at least a decent publisher, if those studios are up for sale, I hope that a decent publisher gets them, and not someone like Activision will just bury the studios, because it's Activision or it's EA. Like, I don't want to see EA pick up NetherRealm.
No.
Because look what they did to Visceral.
Look what EA Play was like. I do not want, if it was those three studios or publishers that were mentioned, EA, Activision, and Take-Two, I'd rather, like, if I was like, well, if I had to pick one, I'd rather Take-Two get them, because Take-Two, Activision would just turn Rocksteady into a Call of Duty support studio. And they would turn Rocksteady into basically churning out licensed games every year. Like, I think that would be bad, and the people would probably just end up leaving the studios. EA, I think EA's.
Well, that's the other thing, right? That's the other thing. Like, why buy Rocksteady without the Batman IP when you can just poach all their staff? You can just hire all their staff to Ninja Theory or the Playground RPG team and stuff like that. There's literally no need to have another studio. They could just hire up all those studios.
Yeah, but you could get the Rocksteady and then work out a deal with AT&T to license Batman for 3 games or something.
Yeah,
or
but why would they do that?
Because the DC property would sell more and be like, look at like Spider-Man for the like if they made a new IP, if Insomniac made a new IP, was that going to get the same amount of traction or marketing or buzz than if it was Spider-Man? I mean,
Yeah, but that just adds complications down the line of royalties and
yeah,
there's still
sure,
other stuff
but
Microsoft has to
that's
deal with.
stuff they would have to figure out. But I'm just saying, like Batman and DC is like would be a wider appeal than something that you would make brand new. I understand the
Yeah, but
legal
they could just stick.
implications
Yeah, they could
and
just stick all
stuff.
those devs on Hellblade though.
They could,
'Cause
they could. But anyways,
So
Sin Vendetta says, always remember, Jez, Halo's greater than Gears. 100%, always and forever. Halo will
no.
always be better than Gears. And
I tell
Drunken
you what,
Ninja,
man. I tell you what. If they ever
yes,
made a first-person Gears game, then Halo would be seriously challenged.
yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah, it would. It would.
Drunken Ninja says,
Chainsawing something in first person, like Halo's just not going to compete with that.
Drunken Ninja says, what's this Polish studio we're being hearing about?
Should we talk about that now?
Yeah, we might as well. I don't know. There's some rumors going around about some guy who knows some devs in Poland. I feel like this whole Poland rumor comes up frequently. But supposedly Xbox may have bought somebody in Poland. Like, is it possible? Maybe. Do I know? No, of course not. So me and Jez were talking about it before the show. I mean, like, obviously CD Projekt Red not happening. 100% not happening. Techland, maybe. Like, I think Techland's independent, but they recently came out like and said like they weren't being purchased by anybody. But I also recall Ted Price from Insomniac saying like they valued their independence, and all independent studios say the same thing until they get bought out by somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's like the Astronauts who are making a game called Witchfire. There's 11 Bits, who Jez had mentioned. There's some studios out there. Of course.
So like if you look at the studios, there's like 11-bit studios which make Moonlighter and Children of Mortar and Frostpunk and stuff. I think they would be a pretty good fit for Microsoft, but they're publicly traded, which adds complexity. And Microsoft, I'm sure Microsoft has purchased publicly traded entities before, but I don't know the legal or the business complications of doing that. Typically, they don't do it, in my experience, since I've been covering this stuff. And you got CI Games who make Lords of the Fallen. I don't know if Microsoft would purchase them, but maybe they saw because CI Games, they're working on a new Lords of the Fallen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the next one is maybe Microsoft has seen it and thought wow, this is amazing, and they're for sale. Why not? Maybe there's something really good about it that we don't know or something. I don't know, but I certainly haven't heard anything. And then you got CD Projekt Red. That's not happening. So, and then who else is left? It's
Some of these smaller studios. I mean,
yeah.
a lot of this stuff is like someone says something and then like it gets picked up by all and websites run with it, and then people come to me and they ask me, and it's like, I don't know that guy, and it's like, is it possible? Like, maybe. I mean, anything's possible. Like, Sony could buy somebody, Xbox could buy somebody. Maybe it is true, and maybe we find out at the July event. Maybe they're like, and introducing Techland, who's showing off Dying Light 2. By the way, they are the new. They are now a part of Xbox Game Studios or something along those lines, right?
See, Techland, like that would, to me, Techland makes sense for a Microsoft purchase, because Dying Light 1 was an amazing game, like considering the relative size of the studio, and like they support it really well post launch and all that sort of stuff, and people still play it to this day. Like, it's still pretty popular even now. Like, they added like little content drops here and there and stuff like that, and they were working on that game. Is it Hellraid? I think Hellraid, if I remember right, which looked really cool, but for some reason they couldn't execute on it, which says to me like maybe they had budget problems. So they decided to go all in on Dying Light 2, and they picked up what's his name now? Chris Avalon, if I pronounce his name right.
He used to work Obsidian, who hates everybody at Obsidian, right? Isn't there some beef between Chris and like Josh Schroyer and everybody?
Yeah, there's some beef there.
Yeah.
But Chris Avalon is a legend in the industry for world building and writing, and he's written some of the the most beloved game worlds in the industry, and so they picked up him to help shape Dying Light 2's world. And uh, I saw Dying Light 2 demonstrated. I can't remember if it was Gamescom at E3, but what interested me was I went from Cyberpunk 2077, and then I went into Dying Light 2 straight after, and I came out thinking, man, actually, Dying Light 2 seems more polished than Cyberpunk 2077. Bearing in mind this was like 2 years ago or a year ago, I can't remember.
And they've already
But
delayed that game once. It was supposed to come out this spring. They delayed it to the fall, and we haven't heard anything this fall. So I'm assuming
yeah,
that game isn't coming out this fall unless we get the announcement at the Xbox show in July
yeah,
or
maybe.
sometime soon or something.
Yeah, but what it says, I honestly think all these delays could be indicative of money problems, maybe, and maybe joining Microsoft is one easy way for Techland to escape that difficulty. And
Mm.
also, it give Microsoft a massive open world game with a service component that they can push Game Pass with, and a really big dev studio in uh, Polish country where there's a lot of talented devs and stuff like that, and you can tap that whole market for development. I think like that would be a good pickup for Microsoft if they can angle for it. But it's like it's like you say, these rumors come up all the time, and it's because like at one point, someone spotted that Microsoft's licensing or Microsoft's acquisitions guru was having a trip to Poland or something. And that's where these rumors started coming from. And like you said, it feels like it's been going on for years now, and nothing really ever came of it. But who knows? Who knows, man?
That's right. And you know what? I think we're probably going to end the regular portion of the show here, but of course, we're going to open the floor up to questions. So get your questions ready. We'll answer them. I just want to thank everybody for being here. We hit like 1,300 live, which is amazing. So thank you guys for all the support. And if you're listening to this later on Google Play or Spotify or iTunes, we're all there. Hope you enjoy the show. So make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you know whenever podcast goes live or whenever I drop new videos. And make sure to follow me and Jez on Twitter. And yeah, Jez. So while we're waiting for some questions, did you see that the Crossfire X beta page is up on the Microsoft.com and has a date for June 25th, but you can't access it yet?
I did. I still have no idea what that game is about. Is it just basically Counter Strike or something? Is
I
it
don't
Battle
know.
Royale?
It's a shooter. I'm not really sure, but I guess we'll be finding out real soon, right?
Like my buddy on Windows Central, Matt Brown, who covers he covers Rainbow Six Siege for us. He's really excited about that because he likes those kind of games. So I guess I need to tap him to find out more about it. But Remedy's doing the campaign, which is probably the most interesting aspect of it for me.
Yeah, that is definitely a big aspect for me because I really like Remedy games. So I'm interested in seeing what they do with like a military shooter.
Yeah.
Darren Keith, he says, hey, why doesn't Sony utilize PC gaming like Microsoft does with Game Pass? Interesting question. Because Sony still, their whole business model is around selling hardware to increase their user base and then selling you the games and the subscriptions and stuff through that. And
So they claim.
well, I think that's going to be changing a tad in the future because we already see them putting more and more of their games going to PC. Death Stranding's on PC. They even put Detroit Become Human on PC. The big one, Horizon Zero Dawn's coming to PC soon. I keep on hearing basically more games are coming. That eventually the goal is all of Sony's games will come to PC. Obviously not day and date, but eventually as like another revenue stream. Whereas
It's like they're leaving money on the table because it's like all these devs who they try and make their own storefronts like EA and Origin and stuff. Even if EA with FIFA and all these huge games, even if they have to bow down to Steam eventually, there's no way Sony can just leave that money on the table when Microsoft's doing everything it can to push those games. And Microsoft's like, it's not only like selling Xbox Game Pass and through its own storefront, it's also doing the whole crossplay thing and getting like more users into their games. Like Sea of Thieves is in the top 10 most concurrent played games on Steam right now, and all of those gamers are cross play with the Windows 10 version and the Xbox version, and that's just like raising the player count and creating more engagement and people sharing experiences, and people who share experiences virally market the game, which leads to more people playing it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this just leads to more investment in Sea of Thieves and stuff like that, and that game just continues to grow. Like, Sea of Thieves is really a success story in a way. Like, no, did you expect Sea of Thieves to be in the top 10 most played games in
No,
Steam on
I mean
Steam when it came
they've
out?
completely turned Sea of Thieves around from when it launched in 2018 to what it's now. And there's been a ton of stories that you can point to this gen of game launches with not a lot of content. Maybe the community didn't like it, and then eventually, they keep on adding stuff and adding stuff, and the game becomes really good. I mean, the example pops up on my head, and one of the most successful games this gen is Rainbow Six Siege. People did
Oh
not
yeah,
like Rainbow Six Siege in 2015 when it came out,
no, it didn't.
but
It was
they
on. It was in the 60s on Metacritic, wasn't it?
yeah, it's low. Like, people did not like that game, but they kept with it. They updated the game. They added stuff people wanted, and now it's like one of the biggest games from this generation. And that's just
Yeah.
one example. It's like another example off the top of my head.
No man.
No Man's Sky was a game that people hated because it had nothing, and they're still adding stuff to that game, and it's become a success story. Sea of Thieves for Microsoft. Like, you gotta stick with it, and EA wants to do that with Anthem. Like, Anthem was trashed when it came out last year, and they're retooling it, and maybe they bring it back better.
Well,
We mentioned it
the difference
earlier.
there is I don't think EA has the investment to turn Anthem around. That would need some
Jez, we did mention earlier, but they turned around Battlefront 2. Remember, we mentioned that before.
Yeah, but that's Star Wars.
That
Man.
is Star Wars.
That's
I'm saying
Star Wars.
there's games out there that have been turned around, but it requires a lot of
Yeah.
commitment, a lot of money, a
Ooh,
lot of shuffling
actually,
employees around and
you,
stuff.
you know what the biggest game that turned it around is?
What?
Final Fantasy 14 Realm Reborn.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah.
That game was a total catastrophe when it came out. Like, a mega catastrophe. And Square Enix were like, oh god, what are we gonna do? Do we just give up, or do we go back to the drawing board, invest, and make it grow? And now it's like a legitimate competitor to World of Warcraft.
Yep.
Which is crazy. Like, I would never have ever thought that.
Yeah. So there are stories of games, rising like a phoenix from the ashes. So we'll see what it does for Anthem. But what says, hey Rand, what's your take on the Cyberpunk delay again, November 19th? I'm not surprised, and I know there's some people out there that say they just delayed it because like they want to launch it with the next gen consoles. I think they delayed it because they just needed time. And it just kind of is a coincidence that that's around the time we expect the new consoles to come out. I think it's like they just needed more time to finish it. Kevin Rosado says, hey, any idea if the Coalition is working on a new IP? What do you think? New IP, Jez? I think their next game is Gear 6.
Yep, I think the next game is Gear 6. I don't think they're gonna leave that. They're not gonna leave that cliffhanger hanging.
Yeah.
Like that. I think what is realistically gonna happen is we're probably gonna get Gears 6 and Gears Tactics DLC, maybe an expansion or something. And then we might see a new IP or a reimagined old IP or something along that line.
Well, there's rumors that Coalition's doing some sort of multiplayer for whatever initiative's working on.
Yeah, that too, maybe.
So
But I would be like kind of depressed if the Coalition became like a second studio helper of another studio, because
yeah, I know, right?
It's kind of like
it's a downgrade.
It's not.
That's a downgrade.
It's seen that way, I guess.
I mean, it definitely is a downgrade to me. So Darren says again in Super Chat, another Sony question. I don't understand the big deal about the fast SSD. So Call of Duty will load is 2 seconds versus 5 seconds. What am I missing? Well, I don't necessarily think it's just about the load times. They talk about how it's going to change game development and all that stuff. But I'm not smart enough to know what that entails because I'm not a game developer. Jazz,
The best example you can see of like how SSD will change game development was in the Ratchet and Clank trailer. So like you saw in that gameplay trailer, they were like instantly teleporting between worlds. Like they were zipping around, teleporting, and the whole world instantly loaded in. Like you could only do that kind of thing with a pre-rendered background back in the day. Like, but with the SSDs means that they can actually just load in an entire world and all the assets necessary instantly.
Yeah.
And also, like another example I was given was, when you're playing like, I don't know, a game that like, so State of Decay 2, for example, you're playing State of Decay 2, and a zombie grabs you, or Resident Evil, and a zombie grabs you. It's always the same grab animation because they have a limit on how much canned animations they can load into the RAM. But if they can pull that instantly from the SSD, they could add like dozens of animations to make things feel a bit more immersive. Or they could even add like a system which generates animations or something. So like all sorts of assets can be loaded in more quickly, and it's not just like visual assets. It's not just texture popping that's going to be eliminated. It's going to be things like instantly loading up like a whole world, like when you teleport or you fast travel, or instantly load in like a bunch of animations or a bunch of voiceovers or something like that. And you can pull that in from the SSD rather than having it to load it into the RAM. You can leave the RAM for other things. So it is going to revolutionize game development. However, there is a big caveat to this. Multi-platform game devs are going to develop for the lowest common denominator, which is PC. And most gaming PCs are still probably on mechanical hard drives, or at least regular low-speed SSDs. Like more and more PCs are getting NVMe SSDs, but there's still like this whole we need like these sort of, like when you're playing Tomb Raider and there's like an artificial blocker there, so they can stream in the next part of the level. Like you have to crawl through a hole or squeeze between two crates or something, and it slows you down. That's like basically a seamless loading screen.
Yeah.
So like if there's a developer making a multi-platform game, they'll still have to keep those in for PC, presumably, and like Nintendo Switch as well. Because obviously Nintendo Switch uses SD cards, which are slower than NVMe drives. But as we move forward and this becomes the norm, and devs like Insomniac push what you can do with that technology, PCs will catch up, and Switch will catch up, and gaming in general will catch up, and that'll become the norm. And it'll be like, oh, how did we ever live without this technology? It's almost like Rand when he cries about 30 frames per second. Rand's like, how did they ever live without? How did they ever live without 60 frames per second? How did they ever live in this filmic apocalypse?
How did I ever do fast travel in the game and have to wait when now I can do it instantaneously and already,
Yeah.
like that? Yeah, that'll be some of the big stuff. Star-Lord says, hey, what do you guys think of that business model? Games as a service that is developed by gamer feedback. Is this ideal? Games like Destiny and Sea of Thieves. That is an interesting question, because you can make an argument that like you like putting out a game like Sea of Thieves in the state that it was in the beginning was like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
I think like literally what would have saved Sea of Thieves in the early days is just slapping an early access tag on it. What they're doing with Grounded, they slapped an early access tag on Grounded, which basically absolves it of any criticism. Because people will be like, well, you can't say it doesn't have much content because it's early access. You know what you're signing up for. And I actually asked someone at Microsoft like why they didn't tag it with early access, and they were just like, can you imagine like what people would say if we tagged the game with early access?
I don't think that's a good look.
Yeah, but they're doing it for Grounded, so
I think that's a little bit different because they've already kind of explained Grounded's like 10 people. So like I think that makes a little bit more sense than all of Rare, the 250 employees is making an early access game. I think there's a significant
250 employees work on Sea of Thieves though.
I mean, maybe it's 100 maybe then, because I think the studio's over 200 now. But I'm just
They've
saying
grown, but back then I don't think.
But I'm saying there's a big difference between saying like 10 people are making this game and our whole studio of 100 is, and you're a platform holder. So I think there comes to like you have different standards. So you know what I mean? I don't know. I think it'd be weird for Xbox to do that. I mean, I get it from Grounded, but something from like Rare where your full team's on it, it's like, yeah. But I get.
I don't think so. I think like I think even like there's nothing wrong with the AAA so-called publisher doing an early access game, because some games you need to take feedback on. Like World of Warcraft's doing like this massive. They do it for every expansion. World of Warcraft has massive beta tests for all of its expansions, which you could say are early access. I mean, why not?
When
Why not just do
Warzone
it?
launched for Call of Duty, it was said it was in beta. It's like, you don't know, in no beta. They just say that. I mean, isn't Fortnite still in beta technically? Does it ever
I have
come out of
no
beta?
idea.
I'm just saying. I
Sure.
think they just. I don't know. Kudos to Microsoft and all the teams for improving the experience. And you should take fan feedback, especially when you're building a game like that, because the fans are the ones playing it. But of course, you could always make the argument like maybe you shouldn't have launched that game in the first place. You know, I've seen people argue it both ways. Ralph William says, "Hey, keep up the good work, guys. My number one podcast #Filmic." Yeah, I can't believe that's the thing now, but thank you. And
That's our podcast
I
motto
know
now.
we need to change
How do you feel about this?
the Filmic podcast from now on. And Jesse Darby says, "My question is, Rand going to buy bug snacks?" Probably not. Doesn't seem like a
I can make Rand play bug snacks for charity.
talking about bug
We need
snacks.
to talk about this. We need to talk about this.
What?
Pokemon Snap for charity.
No.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
done
yeah,
doing
yeah.
things for charity, Jez. I'm not
No,
playing
no, no.
Pokemon. No.
Pokemon Snap for charity.
No.
Like, guys, let me know
No.
on Twitter if you'd like Rand to play Pokemon Snap for charity, and we can sort something out when it comes out.
No.
What do you think, man?
No. Jamie Gill says, "Hey, do you
Come
think
on.
Bethesda's new IP Starfield might drop at the Xbox July event?" Didn't Bethesda say it would be a long time before we'd hear anything about Starfield or Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna hear anything about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I know they have a tight relationship, but they did just give 2 exclusives to PlayStation, Deathloop
They
and
did.
what was the other game? Tokyo Ghostwire. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Sir Bloodraven says surprise studio working with global publishing. That's surprise studio. I don't even know where to even begin. Like, Ready at Dawn? They haven't announced their next project. That would be a surprise. Even though I don't think they are. I'm just saying that would be a surprise. Like a former PlayStation developer did Order 1886 and like
Was that actually good?
I liked it. I mean, I know it got kind of got shit on by a lot of people, but I enjoyed it. PL435 says, "You think Halo Infinite will suffer with the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 in the same week?" Well, you're assuming that Xbox Series X will be launching that week. And I think Halo Infinite and Cyberpunk are both different enough where, like, I don't, there's going to be people that play the multiplayer of Halo and the people that play the campaign and the people that play Cyberpunk. I mean, granted, I think you wouldn't want to launch the same week as Cyberpunk, but I think Halo will be fine. And I think Cyberpunk will be fine.
Yeah, I don't think delays hurt games as much as releasing them buggy and crappy. Personally.
Milky Way says, "Hey, Rand and Jez, is there any truth to Tim Dog's statement that Halo Infinite's development consisting over 1,200 developers?" Great show, by the way.
Kind of. I've heard that a lot of studios have been contributing to that game. So like maybe that. So like while there might not be 1,200 like concurrent devs, I think a lot of studios have helped with stuff on that game. Like the Halo operation is like it's crazy big because 343 didn't do all of the development for the Master Chief Collection, for example.
Yeah.
They spread that out to a lot of second parties who could like the mercenary style studios who they do paid work like Platinum Games and stuff like that. Not Platinum Games specifically, but there was like didn't Splash Damage help with the Master Chief Collection?
I think so.
Like a lot of studios like I would never have expected helped with the development of the Master Chief Collection. So it could be the same scenario where like maybe they buy some assets or something from other devs, art departments, because they're really gunning to make something truly special here. And ultimately, I think we're going to get a pretty cool product at the end of it.
Yeah. Sherman Jacob says, "Is there going to be a Microsoft June event?" I don't think it's going to be an event the same way that Inside Xbox and the July thing is. I think it's maybe just a collection of news information and like Xbox Wire articles and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's going to be info drops in June still, but I don't think it'll be like an Inside Xbox event.
Yeah, we had the one about Dirt 5 and how it was to make 120 frames, and I think they just did one about the Ascent.
Yeah,
And then this week they did one about smart delivery. So I think it's going to be stuff like that. Maybe interviews with developers, maybe an explanation about velocity architectures next because they just kind of explained smart delivery and back compat. They're kind of like they're just kind of drip feeding info. So don't expect like an event. Um, let's see. Miko Doc says, "Hey, for the best performance, should I get a 4K TV for the Series X?" Yes,
yes.
yes, you absolutely should.
Um, we're actually writing an article right now. The new LG OLEDs and the new Samsung QLEDs from 2020, they both support HDMI 2.1 and 120 hertz. So if you want to be future proofed for Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, what you need is HDMI 2.1, 120 hertz at a baseline. And then you want to get like HDR that's high quality at least like 1,000 nits at least. Or maybe you could get away with like lower than 1,000, but like 1,000 nits is kind of the minimum standard for what is regarded as HDR. I think it goes up even higher now, but like at least like last year, 1,000 nits was considered like something like the standard. And then you also want to look at TVs that have FreeSync. So like the modern QLEDs and modern LG TVs also have FreeSync, which lets the TV synchronize the frame rate directly with the console rather than sort of trying to guess it or whatever. So yeah, that's what you want. A lot of the websites don't really give the full information. So what you need to do there, uh, either check AMD's website. AMD's website somewhere has a list of all the TVs that have FreeSync and support HDMI 2.1, or go to like LG and Samsung's website, not just Amazon, because the Amazon listings rarely have all the information you want when buying a TV. You could also just buy directly from Samsung. Like you might not get the best deal often, but they usually have like a load of extras and like insurance and stuff like that. I think some Samsung TVs even come with Xbox Game Pass now, funnily enough. So um, there's a quick primer on how to buy a TV for the Xbox Series X. I might write an article
You
about this.
should. You should.
Yeah.
I recommend the recommend the OLEDs. If you're in the market for one, get a C9 or above because that one has support for 120 frames and they support HDMI 2.1. I have a B8 and it's absolutely amazing. So, but I don't. That my B8 doesn't have support for 120 frames, and I'm like, we're here. Like, I think Halo's gonna hit 120 frames on multiplayer. We already know Dirt 5 is gonna be 120 frames. Ori devs talked about that for like a Series X patch. Even like Gears 5, I think they're talking about 120 frames for multiplayer and stuff. So might be that's what I recommend. And I think you can get like a C9 55 incher for 1,500. It's a worthy investment because if you play a lot of games, they look absolutely incredible on that TV, especially if it's got HDR because the HDR on an OLED's amazing. Snake Eyes says, "Hey, I only buy Sony hardware for first party, but it's not, but not if it's 30 frames film at games." That being said, Rand, do you think Microsoft will take shots at Sony with the tagline "Games play best on Series X, 60 to 120 frames per second"? I mean, maybe they do that. You see them doing that games play best on because they did that for Xbox One X, didn't they, Jez?
They might do. I mean, I suppose like the thing is they have to be careful with some of these claims because, um, especially in Europe, that could be done for like trade and standards false advertising. So like with the Xbox One X, they could definitively argue that every aspect of it was superior, but you might get Sony coming in and suing them and being like, "Well, our SSD means this and that and this and that." So I think they might eventually down the line start to use that tagline if the proof is there. They're not going to do that prematurely because they could get done for false advertising or sued or something.
Yeah. Let's see. And Apache says, "What did you hear of the July event since you're both so excited?" Eye emoji. Well, like we can't go into specifics, but Jez is hearing a lot of good stuff about Halo. So have I. I've heard some other things that have got me excited, but I am not going to say because I'm not an insider and I don't leak stuff. Uh,
Not an
I
insider.
I'm not.
Not an insider.
Nobody should take me seriously. Like I always find it weird when people source
Yeah.
me for videos. I'm like, I'm nobody. But I'm not. I'm not someone who's gonna tell people stuff. I'm not a leaker. So I'm really cautiously optimistic and excited for their show. But the stuff that I've heard from people does have me pretty damn pumped. So we'll see. We'll see. Like, 'cause I don't want to be like, oh my god, I'm so amazing, and then Microsoft shit the bed, and I'd be like, god damn it, you know. So, um, Ian Lindsay says, if you have Game Pass Ultimate, do you think you'll get xCloud as part of the bundle? Yes, I think you will. Jez, you think you get xCloud as part of the bundle of Ultimate?
I think it's almost certain.
Yeah.
So,
Hockey.
Rand,
Yes.
tweets are coming in. Right? The tweets are coming in. People want you to play Pokemon Snap. For
No, they're not. There are no tweets coming in about Pokemon.
There are loads of tweets coming in right now.
No, there's not. There's none. There's absolutely none.
There's at least 10 tweets.
No, there's like
Maybe
none.
20.
They're all from your sock account. Hockey Trent 1995 says, is Mass Effect Remaster real? To the best of my knowledge, yes, it's real. When it's coming out, it's supposed to be this fall. When will it be announced? I have no idea. Cartoon Kid says, hey, where's Cuphead DLC? Was teased almost 2 years ago. That's right, they did tease that DLC a couple years ago, didn't they, Jez?
Yeah, they did.
And
I could reach out and ask them for an update, I guess.
It was supposed to come out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and it doesn't seem like it's coming out this year yet. Maybe they turned it into a full game, Cuphead 2 or something.
Maybe. Like someone told me that, like when a studio is run by artists, which is often the case with Ori and Studio MDHR, think like plans end up becoming increasingly bloated as the artists want to add more and more stuff. So I think that could be the case here, maybe. It's probably like growing far beyond in scope than what they would have planned or expected, but I don't know. I suppose I could reach out and ask.
You should. And there's precisely one tweet about Pokemon Snap. One tweet, not tens, not dozens. There's one tweet about it.
You've probably muted the
No.
word Pokemon.
No,
Just being
I haven't. Nope, I haven't.
I think
Monty Datalo says, thoughts on Microsoft partnership with the Samsung Smart TVs. We talked a little about in the last show, I think, where like if you buy their TV, you get like you can choose between a subscription service, like you get Game Pass, which is cool. But I think the eventual goal here is you buy a Samsung TV and the xCloud app is pre-installed on it, and you can play games right from there.
Microsoft and Samsung are like, they are so tight right now. Like there's actually Windows code in the Samsung version of Android where like you can just link your Samsung phone to your PC and control your phone with the mouse and keyboard. Like you don't even need to pick up your phone. So like if you use Windows PC a lot, really the only phone you should be buying right now is Samsung. But and also like Samsung Cloud is being shut down and replaced with OneDrive. So like if you've they are super tight right now. So I think like having xCloud pre-installed on Samsung TVs is almost definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
And also Sony competes with Samsung in the TV space. So that's a strategic partnership for Samsung as well.
Yeah. Katopsy says, hey, here's my question. How many times Microsoft had to deceive you before you abandoned them? I mean, I almost abandoned them with the Xbox One. With their whole DRM bullshit. Me and my friends had talked a lot about that because we were all pissed. And, but they changed their ways, and at the time I thought like Xbox had a better lineup than PlayStation. So it was like, all my friends are here. Like I had obviously like was trying to go for 1 million gamer score, so I had that going. I mean, right now I own like 2,000 games on Xbox One, like digitally too. So it's like one of those things where it's like, that's kind of just a platform. I guess it really would depends on how bad they do something. Like disappointing, events is one thing, but it would have to be something like truly, truly draconian or something. We're like, we're not making consoles anymore. We're only doing streaming. I'd be like, later. You know what I mean? It'd have to be something like that. Anyways. But I think that's a good time to end the show. We took a really extended question segment.
Let's do some more, man. Do some
Okay,
more.
want to do some more? Okay, we'll do some
Let's
more.
do some more. Do some more. I'm like, I'm wide awake. Let's do some
Gunstar
more.
says, "A question: 2 Halo games incoming."
What did he say?
He said, "Question: 2 Halo games incoming?" Question mark.
2?
Well, there was that the job listing about it, like they were hiring for the new like a new
Oh.
project or whatever.
Personally, I hope there's a Halo Wars 3. Like Halo Wars 2 had a really solid story, and like it has people who still play it even now, and it has a fan base. It was just a bit too simplistic for the PC crowd, which is where it's where your core audience is with an RTS is PC. And I think like making a game that played well on console and PC was the wrong move. They should have just done two versions of it. Like and do a simpler version for console where you have to use a controller, and do a more hardcore version for PC where you can get your full micro on and micromanage everything. And then maybe if you plug a mouse and keyboard in onto your Xbox, you get the full version and stuff like that. I would hope that it's exploring more stuff in the Halo universe in that capacity.
Yeah,
Because I
I
don't think we need two Halo FPSs in the short
no,
space of time.
I don't
That's
think.
too much.
You know what I said in my video? What about a Halo horror game, kind of like an Outlast meets Resident Evil, where you escape in the flood?
That would be amazing,
It
but like
would.
it's so off brand
I
for,
know.
for Halo.
I know. I know. I'm just saying
Microsoft doesn't have the balls to do something like that, man.
it would be so amazing. Maybe a Halo battle royale. I don't know. Like they're probably thinking about something later on or after. They're
Yeah.
always doing projects with Halo. So Mariano says, "Hey, how much of the July event will be about Halo?" A decent amount. I mean, I think they're going to be showing a really in-depth gameplay demo. They want to blow people away with Halo. It's the centerpiece. It's the game. You can make an argument. It's the most. It's the biggest Halo ever. Like most important wise. It's the game that everybody looks towards. Be like, okay, like it's been 5 years, and you can make the argument that maybe it's the biggest exclusive game coming for any platform this holiday.
Yeah.
Depending on what launches for PlayStation, like the Spider-Man game, while huge, is just kind of a expansion. It's kind of a last light situation, and maybe if it was Spider-Man 2, you could make an argument. But I think Halo, considering its multiplayer, and my prediction is that it's going to be free to play. Multiplayer be free to play across like Steam and Windows and Xbox. That I think it'll reach more people, but it needs to be great. So you'll see that there. So Halo, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the show starts off with the Halo stuff because I think they want that to be the way to set the tone of the show. Binyabek says, "I don't like Halo old Fable games. I like story and JRPGs. Should I be excited for July?" Well, I mean, if you don't like Halo, well then I don't there. I'm pretty positive Fable will be at the show. But will it play like the old Fables or something new or modern like The Witcher? Only time will tell. I don't really know anything about that, but I don't know. Something tells me I don't think it'll play exactly like the old Fable games. You know, mechanics and things improve over time. Like when was Fable 3? Like 2009, right? Wasn't Fable
I
3
never
like
even
2010
I
maybe?
barely even played that game. I played Fable 3 for like a few minutes, and Fable 2 was like kind of cool, but I don't know. Like what did you play Fable 2?
Yes. I mean, I played all the Fable games. I'm just saying like it's been a long time since there's been a Fable game. So I don't expect them to play exactly the same. You know?
I'm hoping it plays completely differently because Fable 2's magic system was whack.
Mm,
Although it was fun getting headshots with that pistol.
right.
That's all I remember is getting the headshots.
Malik Ellis says, "Hey, do you think Xbox will do a marketing deal with Activision after their contract with Sony ends this year? COD helped Xbox 360 sell." It is.
I often wonder about that. Like, how much does Microsoft value that marketing deal? I think like the mentality with modern Microsoft is like we shouldn't have to rely on that to sell our console, and that it's a lot of money and stuff like that. And I'm sure they still try and bid on it to, push the expense. I don't think they're letting Sony have that for free, but at the same time, I don't think they value it as highly as maybe Sony does
Yeah.
because people still associate COD with Xbox, like even now.
I mean,
And
that
didn't
did.
they recently have to put a COD tournament on Xbox Live, or am I thinking of something else?
You might be thinking of something else. Like I think there's still people that do associate it, and I mean, it is like the biggest franchise in gaming. That yearly franchise. It comes out every year. It's interesting that we didn't see it at the Sony show. You would think if they had a marketing deal with COD that they would want to showcase that. Maybe they showed in August. Maybe they want to reveal. Maybe Activision wants to reveal its own way. I can't imagine Activision not wanting to take money from somebody for Call of Duty. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, Sony and Microsoft definitely want to pay, but with Activision and Call of Duty kind of moving away from here's the DLC, because it used to be here's 4 maps and a zombie map, and whoever had the marketing deal got it a month early. But now Activision's moved towards it's just free updates, and we want everybody to play crossplay day one. So, kind of time exclusive content doesn't really fit Activision's way they're doing things with Call of Duty. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, here's a thought I had, and I said this to my buddy last night, and this would be absolutely scum of the earth move. But, and this kind of does tie it into our smart delivery discussion earlier. What if Sony paid Activision in some way as part of their marketing deal to get a free upgrade for Call of Duty from PS4 to PS5, where it was free to PS5 users if you bought the game, but on Xbox users had to pay for it.
That'd be really weird because that would be hostile. That would be a hostile move from Activision to allow that.
I know, but I'm
Like,
just
that'd be
saying,
like user hostile.
I could see Sony wanting to do something like that, though. Right?
Yeah, but like, sure, I'm sure Sony would like to do that, but for Xbox, for Activision to allow that is like super hostile, and more to the point, for Microsoft to allow that would be kind of like, why should we let you do that? You know?
Yeah. I don't know. I know it probably won't happen, and maybe Microsoft has some thing where if you don't charge on one platform, you can't charge on us or something. I'm just saying, like, what would truly be scummy would be like holding an upgrade patch hostage, like free here, but you have to pay for it over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That was just
like,
something I was thinking about.
Well, I remember when Microsoft did the whole exclusivity with Rise of the Tomb Raider, people lost their fucking minds, man.
They
People
did.
lost their minds. They were like, "Oh my god, so evil," think of the children, sort of thing. But then, like, Microsoft like completely lost their nerve and were like, "Oh yeah, okay, we won't do this ever again," or whatever. We don't like this practice either. Blah blah blah. And they tried to justify it by saying we funded development and we were involved in development. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know. But they they took a lot of heat for that. But when Sony does it, it's fine. It's okay.
Well,
It's
no, Sony
it's
did it
fine.
for Deathloop and Tokwa. And the thing about the Tomb Raider thing was it was already announced multiplat. Phil bought the rights for it. It became exclusive for a year, and people were pissed. Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop were announced for Xbox as well last year when it was announced, and now they took the deal to be timed exclusive. And I don't really see the same level of outrage about those. And maybe that's to do with the size of the games. Maybe nobody really gives a shit about Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, and maybe that's the reason why Bethesda took Sony's money, because there wasn't any excitement for any of that. Where like Tomb Raider is a big franchise and it's a known franchise, So,
But like, seriously, don't be surprised if in August you see major franchises having exclusive games on PlayStation 5.
oh yeah, I keep on hearing that. Like they spent money for some stuff. We'll see. I mean, Square Enix already has that Project Agita game as exclusive, and supposedly that's not Final Fantasy 16. But I would not be surprised when they reveal Final Fantasy 16 if that's exclusive to PlayStation. It's it's not gonna just stop at those games. So, Elementapio says, "Why you being evil, Rand? That would be so anti-consumer. It totally would, and it was just like the worst case scenario I could think of, and." It would, yeah. I mean, Activision wouldn't do that just because of how bad the PR would be. But I could see Sony being like, "Hey, here's some money for it." F3NIXII says, "I want a game like Too Human, but 100 times better." I mean, don't we all want a game like Too Human, but 100 times better? And Mike says, Jez, Bullet Bourbon? Question mark?
Never tried.
Bullet Bourbon? What's that? What's that? A drink?
I guess so. I've never heard of it.
But
drink? I'm guessing it's a brand of whiskey. I'm going to look it up right now. Bullet Bourbon. Bullet Bourbon, Costco. They might not even have it in the UK.
I'm really looking.
Oh no, I have had that before, and I do like it. Yeah, I have had it before. I think my friend got me some for my birthday once. Yeah, I do like that actually. That's really good whiskey.
Now, out of those Bethesda games, I'm really looking forward to Deathloop. I think that looks really cool. However, Ghostwire Tokyo does not look interesting to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Spider-Man Miles Morales game being like a smaller game, like half the length of the first one? Here's the better question for you, Jez. Do you think that game's exclusive to PS5, or will it also come to the PS4?
Ooh, I have no idea. I can see Sony trying to use it to sell PlayStation 5s.
I see that too. However, like they've been a little bit cagey about that. I think people have asked and they haven't answered.
If they haven't answered, then maybe it will come to PS4.
I would think like it would sell consoles, but the thing is, like, do you really like? We both agree on this that this PlayStation 5 is going to sell out regardless day one, right? It's going to be sold out for a while, right?
If it's true that they're having supply issues, then yeah.
Well, I mean, even if they weren't, like even the Xbox One sold out. Like if you recall, the Xbox One sold out in November and December. And then all of a sudden, when the holidays were gone and people stopped buying gifts and that $500 price point was looming, suddenly nobody wanted to buy Xbox anymore, and they had to drop the Kinect from the system, and they had to remove it in like April or whatever. It was like the first thing Phil did when he took over for Don. My point is, like, this November, this December, they'll sell as many consoles as they can produce. It doesn't really matter even like what games are exclusive. It's like Spider-Man, like, it doesn't matter if Spider-Man's there. They're going to sell the hardware. So I just kind of wonder if they're not really saying if it is. Maybe they are. I know they've said that it has exclusive features and stuff like that, right? Where it takes advantage of the SSD and looks like it looks really good. But I wonder if they're also like, you know what? We could also put this on the PlayStation 4 and sell millions of copies and make a ton of money for the people who can't necessarily get the PlayStation 5 day one. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I could totally see something like that. Anyways, JD Gamer says, if you were Phil and you had to choose between these two choices, which one would you pick? 1, $4 billion for Warner Brothers games. 2, $4 billion to subsidize $199 Xbox Lockhart. 3, $4 billion worth of hardware upgrades, including more memory, faster SSD, and I/O. That's an interesting question. So basically,
that's a complicated question.
So what would you choose? Then you'd if I was Phil, see, if it was me, if I was speaking from Rand, I'd be like, buy Warner Brothers games. You get a whole bunch of new studios making you a whole bunch of games, because that's all Rand cares about, right? So if you're saying if it was me, that's what I would pick. And I'm sure, Jez, you'd probably pick the same if it was you, right? Like, just Jez the gamer.
Yeah, more content for xCloud.
Yeah. But if you're making me be Phil and I need to think about like the business aspect of it, maybe the business aspect of it would be to subsidize a $200 Lockhart to essentially push that out to more and more people quicker and to get more and more people locked into the ecosystem rather than spending the money for Warner Brothers games, where you would maybe get a game from Rocksteady once every 3 to 4 years or something. Like, maybe that's what I would go. I don't know. That's just, what do you think, Jez?
Yeah, maybe Lockhart's the better option, because ultimately, if we have more install base, we get more games.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Avis Plush Productions says, damn, the PS5 is huge. Suitcase, just saw the pic. I did see the pic earlier before the podcast. I'm just wondering if it's legit. I'm not sure if it's legit. It does look like a big boy, though. It definitely looks like a big boy.
I think like there's a slim chance that's photoshopped. Because like the way the picture is angled, it makes it kind of easy to put like a flat thingy on it. So maybe it's photoshopped. I don't know. But my God, that console is huge. I remember when people were mocking the original Xbox for being huge. This is like another kettle of fish. And I'll tell you something, Rand.
Hmm.
I often I like to be in tune with the audience, right? Because if you stay in our little hardcore bubble, you sort of lose sight of what the wider industry is interested in, which is ultimately where a lot of the decisions that people don't understand are driven by is the wider industry, the casual gamer ultimately. So like when I went to get like a casual gamer's perspective, I usually ask some of my friends and family who are, they're gamers, but they're like casual. Like they won't listen to a podcast. They won't even watch a trailer. They won't be aware what games are exclusive. They're just like, they might ask me, what console shall I buy? And then what game shall I buy? Or something like that. And they won't really research it themselves. And they'll just play Fortnite and nothing else or something. And I asked a bunch of my family, my cousins and stuff like that, what they thought of the Xbox One compared to the PlayStation 5. And, you know, a lot of it came down to just the way they look.
Mm.
Like my cousin was like, she hates the way both of them look. She says the PlayStation 5's too big and the Xbox Series X looks boring, like it's just a cube. She said it looks like they put no effort into the design, whereas Sony put too much effort into the design. That was a quote, which I thought was interesting. How much the way they look might be a thing. Like I can see that the size difference might actually be an issue for some people. Do you think that? I
I
don't
think
know.
it might be an issue in Japan for them. Japan doesn't
Hmm.
like the big consoles, but then again, like the PlayStation 4 didn't do as well in Japan as the other ones. Um, I don't think
That is
it.
a point, actually. Like, does maybe the PlayStation 5 further erodes Sony's dominance in Japan? Like, I'm not against Xbox, but against Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might. I think it will. But honestly, I don't think the design matters too much. Most people are going to buy it and put it in their entertainment center, and that's it. I think what really matters is the price of the console, first and foremost. I think the price of the console
Mhm.
matters more than the exclusive games you need. I think you can make an argument that the price is more important to regular people than whatever exclusive games they get on the console. Like, of
Yeah, I guess
course,
so.
for people like us
I
and
suppose
people
it depends.
listening,
Like,
the exclusive games are the most important thing. But for most people, I don't think they really give a shit about Halo or like where do I play God of War or this stuff. They're like, we're gonna play Call of Duty. Where's everybody playing Fortnite and Madden and stuff? Like it's about those games, and then it's about okay, the price of the console. I think price is way more important to like those people
normies.
than like games the exclusive games are.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
yeah,
Um, but when the prices are equal, that's where things start to get interesting.
that is, and it'll be interesting to see where these these dual edition PS5s come in at, because you can make an argument from
Yeah.
anywhere between 399 to 540. 550 like in any you can make an
Has a
argument for
console
50.
ever been, except for the sad, has a console ever been something 50 though?
Well,
Except for the sad.
yeah, that's the thing, but I'm saying you can make an argument for any of those price points and only a $50 difference between the two and a $100 difference. So it'd be really interesting to see Sony's thinking on it. Like, do we take a huge loss and push digital adoption with the digital version at 400 and push? Do
Mm.
we take the initial hit on producing all these consoles with the long-term goal of essentially moving? Let's say there's a 55-45 split right now in favor of digital, but essentially the goal would then be we're gonna lose a ton of money up front, and then 5 to 6 years from now we've moved our digital market share from 55 to 45 to something like
Mm.
80-20. Where now then you have everybody locked into the ecosystem. The games they're buying are all digital, so they come from you. So would that be worth it to take that loss? Those are things they got to think about. And then for Xbox, do you let Sony get that cheap? Like, it's so fascinating the price angles that you can come up with here. You know?
Yeah. I genuinely believe Xbox is in a better position here because of because of Game Pass. Like the fact that they have an install base of 10 million lets them subsidize in ways that Sony maybe couldn't match with hardware alone. It's interesting. You know.
It's interesting, but we're almost coming up on 3 hours, Jazz. I want to take this video to like render forever. So, we had like 1,000 people. We had 1,000 people listen to us even after we ended the show and just taking questions. So, yeah, people really seem to like it. So, we want to thank you guys for being here. Anybody who asked questions or offered support via super chat or anything. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Follow me and Jez on Twitter. And we will be back next week, Friday, hopefully with even more news. And Jez will be in the UK, so maybe he'll even be super awake and we can have a longer question segment too. That'd be really cool.
4-hour question segment?
4 hours. That'd be interesting. So
that'd be filmic.
That'd be filmic. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Keep it gaming. Later.